All right, we're live. We're back. We've got a special weekend at Bernie's, joined with Julia and Ancient Carvings Mike, which Mike, ever since I discovered you on TikTok, which it's at Ancient Carvings on TikTok, uh,
Alien carvings.
Alien Carving, sorry, my mistake. Can't even read the name on screen. Always happens when you're live. Uh, Take it away. You've got over 400 artifacts, is it? And all
Uh,
from Mexico?
yeah, over 600 actually. Yeah, from multiple places in Mexico. Primarily, I've studied Abuelos de Jalisco and Tula Hidalgo, but places like Guerrero, the Oaxaca, Michoacan area, I've got pieces from there as well. Mostly just to study, but to compare, It's really interesting because all these different locations have drastically different artwork. You can see, this style here versus something, of this nature, mosaics and different style for sure. And then you go down to the Guerrero and you have bones and another style. But what's common is they all have angels, aliens, the eye, the DNA, the handbags, the pine cones, the stuff you would see inside of the tombs of Egypt and Sumeria. So it's
Right?
interesting.
Like Proto-Sumerian, Proto-Babylonian, Proto-Assyrian, and Proto-Egyptian, essentially, is what it
Yeah,
all looks like.
pre-flood. That's where the carbon dates. The
Exactly.
carbon dates are, between 10 and 15,000 years old. Obviously, you can't carbon date stone, but the pieces can be dated via the adhesive that they use. You can see this one's been torn apart, and this was actually torn apart by Scott Woltar. He's a forensic geologist, a host of America Unearthed on the History Channel. And so you can scrape this glue, and it's got organic material in there that they can carbon date. And so they cross reference that with resin from the pipes, as well as on a piece like this, for instance. The reason we use this one, you can see when you open it up here, it's got a guy in there, but more importantly, the core of this piece is actually ceramic, and this can be drilled for thermoluminescence dating, and essentially get two separate readings off the same piece, which gives it a lot more you know legitimacy. So
Absolutely. And we were talking before we took this live that I'm going to connect you with some of the APEC team and community, the science and engineering people that I work with, and of the conference that we streamed earlier today. But specifically, Michael Perrone has access to some equipment to do some carbon dating, and that it's private equipment, so we don't have to worry about the fudging of results and
yeah.
all of the controversy and missing samples and
Is it
inconclusive
the
results.
luminescent like testing? Isn't that like 20 grand or 15 grand?
Thermoluminescence not too bad. Carbon dating is actually more expensive. Yeah.
But if you own your own lab,
Yeah, if you've got a
market Falcon
cyclotron,
Space.
you're speaking my language for sure.
I don't myself, but I know some
Yeah,
friends
Bernie,
that
you
do.
put me in contact with that because there's a piece of the tablet that we need to get tested.
Yes, I will get you
Absolutely.
both in contact with this 100%. And the key part, like you said, the ceramics that lots of them are made with, like the ones you're showing off now, clearly pure stone tablets, most
Yeah.
likely slabs, but the ones that are ceramic, and you mentioned this photoluminescent parts of it, and
Mhm.
that's what takes these artifacts to a whole nother level, is that you actually discovered that a majority of them glow in the dark, and that the indigenous locals, the Mexican civilians that you were purchasing these artifacts from, that have dug them out of the ground, they weren't even aware until you let them know that they all
That's amazing.
pretty much glow.
Yeah, exactly. They were blown away just as much as I was. There's a gentleman, he had seen phosphorescent glowing coming off of some of the calcite specimens, and but we had no idea that it was going to be taken to this type of extent.
It reminds me of uranium glass and like filled in there.
Yeah, luckily it's not radioactive. That's one of the common things that we get asked, is oh geez, is it radioactive? And no, nothing ticking. It's definitely an application in most cases, put onto the stone, but in other cases it's really questionable of exactly how they got it on there. I'll show you an example here. For instance, like this piece down here. You can see it's obviously in all the carving lines. So when I turn the light on, I mean, there's no trace of it, All of that
Yeah,
is glowing. So it's like, what if they were to paint it in there? If it was glow in the dark paint, you would see that. And that's not the case here for sure.
right. That's fascinating.
Right?
And
So
you
it's
also,
makes you go, huh? It's not all like that. Some of it
oh,
has
can you go
an
back to that
application.
guy and focus in? He's got what looks like a handbag, almost like the Sumerians too, potentially.
Yeah, you see that a lot. I've got a better representation here. You can see the handbag here.
Right. And a question in the chat: why do they look Egyptian? And it's a good question. They look Proto-Egyptian, Proto-Sumerian, Proto-Babylonian.
Yeah.
They look
Greek
like,
mythology, even look at this guy. It almost looks like he's got a trident and a finned tail. It almost looks like a Poseidon type character, um, littered with planets like Saturn. And you can see here, it's got the pyramids shooting up beams of energy to a planet.
what?
Does it show what planet?
It doesn't show the planet now, but
Maybe on the
in
link?
Zechariah Stitchin's writings, there's this planet Nibiru,
Mhm.
and I wonder if there's some similarity
Planet
to
X.
that story.
I also I have serious questions and preponderance of the Planet X binary system, and it seems the majority of star systems in the universe are binary stars. And what I've been following in the sky over the last decade with my telescope that I've dubbed the Death Star, that could well be it. And oftentimes it's either mislabeled as Venus if it's appearing in the morningish sky. And then I've also seen it as Saturn and Jupiter when it appears in the earlier night sky. And what really brought my attention to it was when there was the I believe it's called the Parade of Planets. I believe it was back in 2016 was the last one, when all the visible visible with the naked eye planets were in a row once, visible all at once in the sky, and then it was also visible and in the sky simultaneously.
Huh.
But that's a rabbit hole for another day, a wormhole
Yeah,
for another day.
it is too.
Do you mind, do you have available any of the, because it's not just the neon green photoluminescence, there's some that have the blue and some that have like a reddish orange, and the reddish orange one reminds me of that one stone they've recently discovered that's UV or black light reflective in one of the Great Lakes or something. I forget.
Oh, the Uperlights or the Uperlight. Yeah.
Yeah, Uberlit.
Yeah. This guy here's got a lot of the blue.
Like,
I'm so interested in these symbols.
oh,
Yeah,
me
all
too.
the symbols along the outsides of it glow as well. So what I'm showing you guys right now is actually the legs of a table. And these two huge tablets are legs. You can see the hole here. And the hole it goes through this part here with this cross member, holds the two legs, and then the top of it, it's the top weighs over 200 pounds in itself. It's just littered with symbols and.
What type of material do you believe this table's made out of?
It's a flint stone, is what they call it down there. It's got, that's why it's got the calcite in it. As far as the geological makeup, though, it's got a high amount of calcite and quartz. Oops, let me turn this light back on here. Actually, I'll show you one other one here. This goes on the disc of the table here, but you'll notice it turns blue after.
What? I have never in my years of life seen something that has done that.
Yeah, me neither. And I've collected rocks for a really long time, and
It's just interesting too, of all the the blue gods depicted in all the different cultures.
Right?
you can see like the different like textures and stuff. It's
wow.
it's crazy.
It's actually being picked up by your camera. Is doing a good job of that. The different textures and almost like layering of like depth of reflection within it. Like what
I just imagine if I had a really powerful one of these lights, that it would be really, really cool to be able to light all this stuff up at once with a really high powered,
I'm gonna have to
lights.
send you.
Because right now it's battery operated. I'm sorry it's dark here. I'm trying to, there we go, get the light back on. But yeah, you can see these legs of this thing are adorned on both sides. Oops.
Man, like my own background is like silk screening, vinyl cutting, printing, and printing clothing, working with all sorts of different textile inks. A lot of prints and inks I've worked with being phosphorescent glow-in-the-dark inks, and my experience with what's available on the open market in regards to glow-in-the-dark phosphorescent materials, and what you're showing seems to far surpass anything that I've been able to come across or get my own hands on in today's
that one. Wait,
model.
go back to the circle one that you were just at.
Mm-hmm.
Go closer. It reminds me kind of like Inanna depictions, the way the wings are, and it looks like it's very interesting. And that's Saturn and the other two planets.
Yeah, you see this guy has like this thing on his back, which is really interesting. There's a lot of these weird scopes that they're finding, scopes like this here, that you can look through. This one has a very dirty lens, so it doesn't
Does
have
it
a very
magnify it?
Yeah, this one doesn't, but this one does up here, which is crazy. Here, I'll show you. Turn this back on. I was actually able to get it to, you can look through it, I think, here.
Wow.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, and like the entire thing is crystal, and then
it's a fluorite piece of material, and
I would like to have
lens on the
visions in
end
that
here,
thing.
the lens is actually a piece of fluorite as well, which is what they use in telescope lenses. Same with on this one. And if you look up a thing called the Nerubi lens, they found it out of Saudi Arabia, I think it was, and they've dated it over 4,000 or 5,000 years old, and it was supposedly the first form of magnification. What's crazy is it's fluorite, and it has the exact same inclusion. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. See that inclusion on there? They had the exact same thing on there, which is strange.
Really?
Never seen
well,
that.
Considering all of the culture, language depictions seem to be Proto-Sumerian, Babylonian, Egyptian, that it would make sense that they'd have similar or the same technology in both areas of that civilization. Or
is that lapis lazuli?
Don't know. Again, with the gems, it's some of these specimens that they put on these things. I would have swore to you that they were glass, because I've never seen anything quite like it in nature. And some of
Now,
it is glass. This could be glass. We found traces of ancient glass beads, rings, and stuff like that. And so I believe to say that they had glass making capability. I
now
don't
you
know if that's
wanted
glass. No.
you wanted to discredit it. Like you were very cynical or critical of this at first when you got
It,
into it.
yeah,
I found
my
that
good friend,
fascinating.
he came back from the Tucson Gem Show, and he had bought in a couple of these small, little tablet type mask carvings, and it had all the language on there. And I was like, wow, these are cool. Who's making these? And he's like, oh, there's a booth down there, and the guy says they're 10,000 years old, and they're pulling them out of this ancient Aslan place in Mexico. And I'm just like, okay, okay. But I start, researching it. I actually made a wager with him that I could prove it to be false, and I figured I could call up, Ancient Aliens, one of the guys off of there, and get an answer real quick, and so I did. I started reaching out to all the, Giorgio and David and all these people trying to get an answer. We wouldn't get any responses at all. In fact, I wrote to like 150 people and I couldn't get a response from anyone. And it was one of the most defeating processes I've ever gone through, considering it's about science and education. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I finally got a hold of Linda Moulton Howe, and that was really helpful. She worked with me for about 6 months on this topic, and we were about to go do an expedition down in Mexico. Unfortunately, with COVID and some of the things going on down there with mafia and stuff, we weren't able to do it. And that's why we're lucky that Gen6.com, they went and did it anyways, and were able to safely bring us the proof that we needed.
So they did a documentary for you and covered all your artifacts and
No, I just I've helped contribute to them. I've been researching the topic before they started the documentary, and I was buying from the people in Tula before the Gen 6 even was told that they were finding pieces there. They were actually working down in Lake Quetzal in the Michoacan area, because there's pieces coming out of there as well, like these green statues. And so they were doing a documentary there, and when you watch the documentary, you'll see it's two separate parts, and two separate expeditions. So, and that's why. And
me and
so
Bernie and I were saying like it reminded us of what Osmanagich in his presentation, what he had, but that was in de Jalisco, and which you said some
oh
of these are from.
yeah,
So no
absolutely, yep.
wonder it reminded
Abuelos
us
de
of it, right?
Jalisco.
Well, and what we were talking about in regards to Sam's presentation, you haven't showed the skulls yet, have you? And that, as for the veracity of this, Mike here, aliencarvings.com actually has physical bone skull that he's willing to send us pieces of to have lab tested. That's how real you experience these. And you were mentioning before we went live how light the bone is in those, and I instantly thought of the Star Child skull of Lloyd Pye and how he showed under a microscope how hollow but like nanostructured strength this bone
Yes.
marrow was, and that it's probably similar or identical in what you're holding there. And it looks like Cthulhu almost depicted on it. These anamorphic figures, the legends of the
Cthulhu?
demigods and gods of before, whether some being Greek, some being Sumerian, all over the place there as Egyptian and alchemical, potentially with Thoth even, and the Egyptian styles of them. But
Yep.
this Mexico, that's a
Well,
picture of
Thoth,
a few of
Thoth
them.
told Anki in the cuneiform tablets that he was going to create a new civilization in Mesoamerica. And so I think that the story of Anki and Enlil goes back quite far, and and likely, that Mesoamerica culture is why they have stepped pyramids in Mexico, and why the early pyramids in Egypt are also stepped.
Mm.
Only the early ones, though, and people argue how old the Great Pyramids are. Well, okay, if the Great Pyramids are argued, then so that how old does that make some of these like Saqqara and these stepped pyramids? And then you look at something like the Black Pyramid, which was melted from the top down. And then you see pictures like this, and you gotta wonder how that Black Pyramid might have gotten melted, right?
And are you aware of Sam Osmanovich's work with the Bosnian pyramids?
No, I'm familiar with the Bosnian pyramids, but I'm not familiar with his
Oh,
work. You need to send me his name if you can remember that. I would really like to look at that.
absolutely. Once we end the stream, before you log off, we'll go over it, post it in the private chat. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
one
had
of the
gone
things
down. This is
Sam's
the picture of his,
famous for. Ooh, here we go. So,
Oh wow, very similar. Yeah.
and that was down in Mexico. And then the other thing
Huh.
that you had that reminded me, this was after it.
Okay. Huh. Was that stone or bone?
What
the
this?
first one's stone.
The
I
second
think
one.
the second one.
The second one is stone.
Or stone.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's
First one bone.
it's
second stone.
Valencia Cathedral.
Okay. Huh.
That shows where it's at. But how far from Quetzalcoatl did you say?
The pyramid of Quetzalcoatl is in Tula Hidalgo, and a lot of these pieces, like this book, for instance, here, this was dug up on property that a farmer owns. You'll see the fence that divides, the farmer's land from the sacred site, and it's a big stone, 10-foot tall fence that goes all the way around the entire pyramid of Quetzalcoatl, heritage site. But then on the other side, they use GPR and stuff, and obviously they didn't put the fence out far enough, and so they found an entire tomb, and that's where this green jade death mask, this as well as another, came from the burial inside of the one of the tombs. There's
Can you
actually
do
multiple
a
tombs.
direct face on, like a front on face of the green mask? It reminds me of in China there was this one find. I forget the name of the culture, but it was like
Hongshen.
Yeah, you got it. An almost identical, very, very similar, like green jade masks, and that
Hongshen
one
is
almost
really
looks so
interesting. I thought it was fake, but I think it might be real too. It's so similar to this stuff. It's crazy.
I didn't know for a long time that Quetzalcoatl had a twin brother. Like, you spell his name XOLOTL, and it said he was a dog-headed man.
Interesting.
I didn't know that until recently.
Well, that would make sense. With Enki and Thoth, that whole family is related. Likely. So to have that Anubis, which is Hades in the Greek, that would make sense, because I think Hades was actually a son of Zeus.
So I'm sharing a photo right now. One of these this tablet being one of about 30 or 50 that I saw. I think it was 2012. It might have been 11 or 13, but it was Nassim Haramein and Klaus Donna that came out with the presentation of about this artifact, in about at least 20, if not 30 to 50 more of them. And that was when I was first made aware of these Mexican alien elongated skull artifacts, and that they both swear to their authenticity to this day, and that some of them are clearly from the exact same
that one with all the heads on there. Look at this.
Right.
I'll show you here. Same type of iconography here.
And it's this pictographic language as well. The all this symbolic language that it's just so complex.
That it's on the sides of that. It seems broken, and then
they've carved into the natural side.
I'll show you this other one too, kind of the similar situation. It's really, really detailed.
The amount of work and labor and advanced craftsmanship that has to go into each one of these pieces, just devil's advocate, even if they were fakes and frauds and made today as opposed to thousands of years ago, that's still some of the highest quality, detailed, in-depth, coolest pieces of art I've ever seen in my life, and that
Yep.
there's literally tens of thousands of them, and that they're in such detail and precision and quality into so many different stones that like the amount of resources that would be needed to go into manufacturing like production of these artifacts on the level and scale of the amount being produced or like recovered or put onto
There's
the
tens of
market.
thousands of these. So it's like, yeah, how on earth would there be this many master artisans that could carve to this quality, let alone craft to this quality? It's not just the carving, but like these pieces here are mosaics. Each square here is a different stone glued together. So in order to make this disc, they have hundreds of stones all glued together, and then they carve on top of it. So if you mess up carving, all that glue effort that you just made is ruined. So the perfection here is disgusting, and it's not done with a computer. You can see here on his beard that those lines are clearly done by hand. There is
Mhm.
no symmetry or precision at all, even though it's very precise.
Recently,
Each artifact, sorry to cut you off, Julia, but just quickly to state, each artifact is original. Like there's no two of the same, right? Like there's
No,
no
very
replicas,
original.
or like every single one is completely unique and original. And like when I was down in Mexico, gosh, it's been too long, but 2 decades ago, and just in the artisan markets there of stuff that you could see, like the Mayan, Aztec, like remakes of today, what's the arts, tapestries, and carvings and stuff that they sell for tourists. There's always at least 5 to 10 identical copies, like
Yes.
either in the one booth or spread throughout the market, because just like the practicality of being able to mass produce this sort of stuff on scale, you have to make prints. It's insane the amount of labor, time, and quality you have here.
Yeah, recently a group of
Jeremiah.
researchers were able to extract ancient DNA from like a 2900 year old clay brick. Like in some of these tablets, they're able to see like the material, like they're able to extract this ancient DNA from these ancient relics. So sometimes it's like, is that a time capsule of certain DNA and like within it?
So where do these things come from? I mean, some of these look just a little too modern to call them artifacts, but I'm curious because the quality is extremely high.
Mike, I've got Jeremiah and Shem just joining in. Sorry, boys, if you've been sitting there for a little bit, just noticed you're there. But Jeremiah being one that can get this stuff to Mike Perone and a couple others potentially to get it tested. Mike, do you want to show off like the skull and like the bone material that you have, as well as like the bioluminescence stuff that could be plant-based that you're willing to send us samples to test?
Yeah, absolutely.
Couldn't have been etched in an
This is one of the skulls here. We have 12 different variations, and they're all very unique. They're very lightweight. This only weighs about a pound. If this was a cow skull, this would be quite heavy. We initially showed it to 2 bone experts, and the type of connection here was similar to a cow, and so they wrote it off as that at first, and then they handled the specimen and seeing how light it was. They did a bone density test on the strength, and it was very, very, very strong for how thin it is. And it's something still being researched. Scott Woltar is knee deep in it, just trying to get labs to do any sort of DNA or carbon dating on the bone of this type is really tough, though. So it would be amazing.
Well, the tricky part is, like, let's say you got a bone, right? The bone could actually carbon date pretty fucking old, but that does not mean the carvings in that bone are necessarily old.
Correct.
And
yeah,
so
no, but the bone itself, the bone itself, if it's old, then it would be worth getting a DNA test on it. And that's the thing. We don't want to spend money for a DNA test if it's 30 years old. You know what I mean?
Right. It's just, here's the thing. These artifacts look so good. The carvings so unimpeded by time. And then this,
they were compacted and buried in dirt at about the 2 to 12 foot level. If you check out gen6.com, you'll see that there's a 4-hour documentary that just released with start to finish dig videos showing these pieces and how they're trapped in the ground. And it's a very silty type of soil. In fact, Cambridge University in 2021 did a major search on Tula Hidalgo, and their findings came out that it was an archaeological epicenter, and that over 75% of Tula was still buried. And so it's not like your standard berry. It's high in silt, and as you watch the video, you'll see that, I mean, it's absolutely packed and everything correctly, but at the same point, it's still very soft dirt, and that's just the way Tula is around the pyramid there.
Wow. I mean, like the quality of these artifacts and the clarity of the carvings and whatnot just seem almost too good to be true. It's like, holy cow! Can these?
Yeah.
Did you really find these just sitting in the dirt?
And a lot of them came out of tombs and stuff like this green jade mask. It came out of a tomb. You'll see on our page, there's been an entire tomb, and there's full-blown aliens and angels and DNA on the carvings of the wall. We have pictures of the entire thing there, as well as on our website. You can see the entire thing being discovered. But the fact that they're on the walls and that they're the same depictions.
Yeah, let me take a closer look at that thing with the pyramid that has the post top on it with the pipe being held, the jade looking pipe on the stone pyramid. What is that? What the heck is that?
Yeah, this is it's like a telescope. It's a piece of fluorite here.
Holy!
And you can actually look through this and
well,
see.
That's unusual. So you're saying you found that thing came out of the ground like that?
Yeah, it's documented.
Right, and I also have to state,
and there's been multiple of them. There's been multiple of these telescopes.
And you're saying at that tiny little neck on that pyramid with that top piece, that was not broken. It didn't have to be like repaired or anything like that. It was still good.
It's like steel, like this material.
Because look at how small that neck is. That supporting
listen.
piece.
You hear that?
Whoa!
It's got a high crystal and iron content in this stuff. It's very, very durable. In fact, you can see this table here. It weighs 430 pounds. This is the top of a table that goes on these two legs. And I mean, they were able to somehow predict that this stone would hold up this tabletop. And that's really insane because
way.
Yeah.
And I would just like to state and address that, yes, there is video. This J6 documentary, Mike shared it with me before the stream. Sadly, I didn't have time to download it. And, it's on their site. Like, it was a lot of work. So it's for sale or rental or something like that.
But you can buy it there. It's $50.
You have to spell it out, though. It's not the number 6. You have to spell out SIX.
You shared it with me, and you're going to allow me. I'm going to download it, and then I'm going to watch it, and then we're going to do another stream where I will take segments. We'll pick out certain segments of the evidence that you're going to allow us to share. I had asked earlier, like, if I could just re-upload it, but obviously I understand, like, that's a lot of work to produce a full movie, and respect the right to charge for it. But the fact that you're willing to share it for free with me and let me take clips of it, and that you're stating it's 4 hours long because it literally includes a couple of full digs from start to finish, because they didn't want to edit them out, that they literally show the full digs of them coming out of the ground from start to finish.
What is the purpose of that?
These are likely, paganistic, demonic, satanic, cult of Baal type relics that were utilized to do things that are beyond what we can perceive from interdimensional type entities, is what it appears to be. There's a lot of books like the Anunnaki type things, a story of Enki and Enlil, that seem to resonate, fairly close to this. You see a lot of the type of Anunnaki bearded winged beings depicted. and then you also see a lot of this, with the orb with the two wings. Like you see, it's the
Let me ask a really interesting
Shamish.
question here. I mean, do you have some high quality photos of these things up close? Every single one of them, both sides,
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
they are.
I've
You have
3D
them loaded
scanned and
on your
taken high
website.
res 60 megapixel photos of everything. In fact, you can see some of my work here. Like for instance, this piece here is a macro shot of this small little statue.
Oh, that's badass.
So
Nice. That's
if you go to our website, aliencarvings.com, you'll see a lot of that. Our TikTok is just full of content as well. That's as much as I could possibly gather.
Pulling up Gen 6. And just for those tuning in, you stated earlier, but it's from, there's a few different areas these are dug out of in Mexico, and the Tula area, as well as like there's the green jade looking ones from another area.
The Michoacan area for these guys, Lake Quetzal. And then the pieces here are from Tula Hidalgo. And it depends. Some of the pieces are found up in the hills near Tula Hidalgo. Others are found. There's a farmer that has property that rented out the rights to dig on it, and it borders up to the sacred heritage site of the Pyramid of Quetzalcoatl. And so they did GPR, and that's what started the documentary. And now they found numerous tombs and caves and just an insane amount of stuff. So. And to answer the question, no, not all of these were found in the exact same spot. They're definitely. This is 3 years of my research, and some of my pieces have been out of the ground for over a decade. Like I've cherry picked from certain collectors and people to try to put together the best story as I could in terms of the encompassment of what was being said here.
It's enticing. Some of these things, like some of these artifacts, I'd really like to take a closer look at. What I really don't understand is the commonality of using the same material that happens to be phospholuminescent over some time, and apparently didn't.
Well,
really
you did state though that there were some that were found in like a creek bed, and that they
Like
washed
this one right
off.
here.
Yeah, you can see just
the
very little
phosphorescence
remaining.
is weak. Same with this telescope here. This was found in the water, and you can see the luminescence is wore off on much of it. So it just depends on where it was found and how it was found. But
You should show when the lights are on. You should show the thing that's like the one in the
Whoa,
museum
blue
of the
Hold on.
timeline.
So that tube glows blue. That jade-looking tube.
yeah, it's fluorite. But there's
So-
also blue phosphorescence on pieces like this here.
Right, like the legs where
And
it
then-
turns from green to blue. Like what?
That reminds me of like a Mayan
really
ice.
You got to
strange ones
understand that
here.
I'm looking at this stuff and I'm still having a lot of trouble believing that these were actual artifacts because it just seems so unplausible, right? So you got to
I said
understand.
the
I'm
same
not
thing.
saying that it's not. I'm not saying that it's not at all. I'm just saying that the keen observer will look at this, especially if they've studied other historical artifacts and say, well, these clearly don't conform to the same types of artifacts that everyone else has seen. So here's this exclusively different type of collection. And so you can't blame a guy for wanting more information to try and vet these.
Oh, of course.
Genuine.
Oh, Mike's down for putting it through as much scrutiny as possible, and
Please,
now you're
I
showing
have a
me.
wager with
so
somebody.
they're magnetic as well.
If it's fake, I have a $5,000 wager with somebody that I'm going to win. So that would be really great. Not
And
that it
if
would
it's
cover...
real, the implications are way more significant. So.
Oh yeah, that's why I took the chance. Even at a 1%, if it was real, it was going to be worth it. And if not, like he said earlier, Bernie said that the art was, even as modern art, something that would still sell and something that still has a lot of merit in terms of effort and love put into it. So it's great art,
Dude,
even as
people
modern
thought
art.
that you were trying to sell this the first time that you came on Bernie's stream. Well, at least the first time that I seen you come on. Well, I was also there. Like a lot of people were already offering to try to buy this stuff off you. They thought that these were art pieces that you were making because they were really modern.
Right? Yeah, no, I've been offered a lot of money for a lot of these. I mean, I sell some of them on eBay, but just some of the smaller stuff, like none of the big stuff I could even put a price to, because it's just the what if still, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
You should
find
show
it
the
hard-
the circular one that has like the timeline similar to the one in the British Museum.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That one
Yeah,
really
the
I wanna get a
Babylonian
closer
star
look at that
calendar
one.
ones.
Yeah, here.
I really want to see the dates on that.
You know, these are pretty freaking cool.
Right, so if we can date these, see if they're different, older than the
Whoa.
Babylonian ones, and just through the astrological alignment of them.
Wait, can you flip it over?
Yep.
Okay.
And you can see obviously Big Dipper, and I mean there's constellations, the North Star's the middle, so to figure it out I don't think would be impossible. And then you would also have the idea of what some of these symbols could mean. Not that they're the language, I think they're more mathematical, but I'm not sure. It's really interesting. This is why I would think they're mathematical. Was this was actually found
Do you
with
have
it.
any the question? Do you have
How's
any the
that?
size any like tablet size of your hand approximately? Like that
We've got
small,
some
like
smaller ones,
tiny
too.
font?
With the star map on there?
No, not with the star map.
Just
Any
in
of them that
general,
are
tiny
just
Oh
ones.
yeah. Funny.
Specifically,
Yeah,
that look like they have maybe even Sumerian, Babylonian proto on them. And also, if we can get some close-ups of the pictographic symbols
Damn.
on some of the
Yeah.
pieces.
Let me
So what are the
show you
stones there that
one
are
symbol
embedded?
here that might be of interest.
Right, and like that, those are pretty much identical to the characters that were in the Nassim Haramein Klaus Donna 2012 disclosure and carvings, and that I'm guessing came from the exact same civilization piece discoveries.
I've actually reached out to Greg Braden and Nassim Harriman. Now Klaus Dona, I've talked with him more than Nassim or Greg. Both Nassim and Greg are under an NDA about this topic. I tried to ask them questions about their research, and they weren't able to answer anything for me, which is really
He
frustrating.
signs the NDAs with Gaia. That's one of the
Bingo.
biggest reasons why I dislike the Gaia organization, is because they, like Julia's about to talk about, Graham Hancock, also under NDA with Montana Megaliths. He's going to see.
He wanted to go see. He told me he wanted to go see the Sage Wall in August. He told me in June that he wanted to see it in August, but that he couldn't discuss it further because of NDA. So I was assuming that it was, a documentary or a film, but I'm not sure if he made it. I'm sure Julie would have known about it. I don't think he made it this summer.
Yeah, these pieces are just too unbelievable for me. Some of them anyways. They're just too good.
A couple of them were sussy.
And that's just it. I mean, I'm sure there's fakes. The locals have been seeing this stuff, so there's obviously fakes. But what we can guarantee at this point is that there are real pieces depicting this story coming out of the ground. And while not every one of them might be real, the reality is that this story is real, and that's why it needs to be researched. That's my whole entire motto, is just trying to get this researched.
Yeah, see, that's why I wish I had a dating lab, because I could at least tell how old the phosphor exposed areas were by taking a small sample.
Yeah, and we've had almost 50 carbon dates done of these mosaics and different pieces, but really it's the bone pieces that we want to get. Scott Walter, he took samples of quite a few of our bone pieces, like this dagger here, for instance, from Tula. He cut off this piece here and then broke it open to get the marrow out. Unfortunately, the lab sent it back and said that they wouldn't do it when they saw what it was. So I don't know, or maybe they saw the date and just wouldn't release it. I'm not sure.
That is why, Jeremiah.
I was going to say, Bernie, is it your friend, or Jeremiah, is it your friend that has its own lab?
I was told could potentially get the stuff carbon dated for us.
Well, we don't have our own labs, Julia, but the thing is that each of us has a lab dedicated to a different purpose, and so none of us have an exclusive dating lab for checking the age of certain artifacts, but we have access to those pieces of equipment within a limited capacity. It's not like the full spectrum. So you got to understand there are some over 20 different isotopes now that are commonly used to date things, and knowing which isotope to choose is actually a rather important factor due to the fact that certain things will easily decay, and based on the half-life, especially for the shorter-lived isotopes, that's generally what we will choose between. If we get a bad bit of information from one isotope, we'll choose a different one and look at that. But the concept is when these things are made, there has to be some kind of change in the isotope ratio that's embedded into them. So if it's just natural stone, and the stone is 100,000 years old, and we date that stone, it's going to be a 100,000 years old piece of rock.
You can't
But if
you can't
carve
go off
it
the
into it, then
stone.
it's also going
You have
still
to
be
go off the
100,000 years
organic
old piece of
material.
rock. So that's the problem. Is if tomorrow you carve something into 100,000 years
Oh,
old.
Jeremiah, he's well aware, and what he's saying is he'll chip pieces off of the phosphorescent aspects, like the binding glue stuff that most likely has organic material, and then the ceramic stuff, like this one that he's showing right there.
Yeah,
that
you can
could
see Scott. He
contain
took all these
organic.
pieces off and took all these glue
So
samples.
cool. I mean, I'm just gonna say it. That is so cool. I don't even care. I didn't even care if it's like a super
you can
old
see the
artifact or
manganese.
it's modern. It's super cool. So
The manganese deposits here are definitely old for ceramic. There's no question there, and it's only exposed on this side, and it's not on the unexposed. So that plays truth to the oxidation. No question on both sides, which is good. So this is a really interesting piece. I think we'll get some interesting news about. What's cool about this too is this piece was actually sold to me, just the sphere, and they had only dug up the sphere. He gave it to me for cheap because he couldn't get it to sit on the table. It rolled around. A couple months later, he's like, Hermano, I found the base. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, we found the base. And he sent it to me for free. I just had to pay the shipping. He's like, no,
cool.
it's this for sure, And I mean, it's pretty iconic here.
Wow, look at that one on the left. Oh, the one on the right looks like Horus.
Oh, Horus,
It's Horus
yeah.
and
Based off of
Thoth.
the
Horus
outline.
and Thoth.
I want
Thoth
to
and
know
Horus.
if there is technological disclosure in these carvings, like, hey, this is how they did it, or this is how they
right, like some of the languages and like depictions, like there's lots with DNA in it, and
Well, I
You can
noticed
see the
that
carving
some of the
style
stuff
here.
in the tablets that he was showing on the table earlier. He had 4 tablets arranged in a quadrature, and 3 of them were like a white stone.
It's a book.
And I seen, those are the ones. And so you see how on the bottom left there, it looks like he's holding up. So you've got the Mifkut triangle
I see
pyramid.
what
You've
you're
got
saying.
you've got the assayer's bowl underneath it.
Mhm.
As far as the classic, taken from symbology, then that would be your monoatomic gold, generally speaking, if any of that was correct from.
Ooh, I want to see those.
It's the language here. This might be how to make gold.
It could. That's what I'm wondering. Is like, is some of this technological
Advanced
process
alchemy for
disclosure,
sure.
like these are the steps to basically.
Balance.
It's like a
and
cookbook.
I love what you're
water,
saying,
DNA.
Jeremiah. I'm seeing that in this now too, that you've stated that.
Look at the tools. Okay, so you're seeing a lot of the symbology on those, and hold that up to the light again. See, hold that up to the light, because just holding it up, it was obvious. Yeah, look at that. That is very translucent. Okay, so you look at that at the surface, it looks like a solid piece of opaque stone, but it's not at all like that. It's practically crystalline,
It's a crystal,
completely on the center. Otherwise, it wouldn't be clear like that. Or at least I shouldn't say crystal.
Yeah.
That's the wrong word. Amorphous, because remember, glass is amorphous. Glass is an amorphous structure of semi-crystalline, smaller domains. So these things obviously are exhibiting that same kind of property. That's unusual for stone, which means that it probably has a very high quartz content.
It does. Yeah, quartz and calcite both.
That would make sense.
And that's where a lot of the phosphorescence comes from, is from the calcite.
It makes me wonder, you should illuminate the living hell out of those things, because I don't know why they would have chosen
like you could be seeing a whole nother thing with a certain light that you wouldn't,
So here's my theory, guys.
Exactly,
I
right.
don't want to sound like a crazy guy
chose
here.
those, I'm guessing, for their optical properties in
photonically.
If these things were, obviously 10,000 years old, and that's real, how on earth did they know they glowed? Did they have a flashlight? Obviously not, probably.
They have the moon. You just go
No,
outside
it
the
won't do
moonlight
it.
and all that
Nope.
stuff will glow, dude.
Moon and sun don't do it. Moon and sun won't do it, and the half-life is way too short to do anything with the sun, and the moon, it's not bright enough to do anything. And even my super high powered triple stacked LED diode blacklight, $70 model, best you can buy.
it barely illuminates some of the stuff. Like if you were to have a really high powered commercial one, I think it would be even more insane. But what's crazy, my theory is, obviously these things depict a lot of angelic type beings in multiple ancient cultures, angels and Anunnaki. Even in the Bible, what's her name? Methuselah. She lit up a room when she walked in, as what it says, and the halos on these angels. Could it be that the halo had ultraviolet light, and so these pieces were made to worship these beings, so in their presence they would glow? I mean, some of the pieces like this, I'll show you. Like this pendant, for instance, it's drilled on the back right here for this gem, and so when you put a light behind it, the gem illuminates really beautifully blue. And so if this
That's
was being worn by
badass.
someone that had a halo, that would glow just by being worn on them because of the drill hole.
Ooh, higher
Right?
beings jewelry. Oh,
And
Yeah,
like
exactly, right?
activate.
do you wonder if the wings depict that they are from above, like, and came from above down to below, or
As
like you
above,
said,
so below, my friend.
could they be
I had a
actual
vision of
angels
somebody
and demons?
like they had a jade mask on because their eyes, like they're able to like light shoots out of their eyes, and this was like in a remote viewing session that was deep under the earth.
Interesting.
Can you give a couple demos of the musical instruments and properties of some of these as well?
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, I'm gonna
That
show
would
the
be a good
back of it.
idea. Now that you're not cutting out, because last time you came on Alien Carvings, the first time I seen your collection, now this is the second time I'm seeing it. The first time, your audio was absolutely screwed to all high heaven.
Yeah, I had to get a new phone. I just got a new phone, so it's much better now. Yeah,
Yeah,
usually I was
so I
using a
would like to
headset.
hear the skull flutes and stuff like that again
Yeah,
without
yeah,
it
here.
chopping out, because they were really haunting. If you wouldn't mind just giving us a couple of
I gotta set you guys down for the big one. It's really heavy.
let's just try to get a full spread of the number of tones that it can generate, highest to lowest.
It's interesting too. Like I'd never seen this type of stopper for cups, but they on all the cups from Tula, they all have a piece that goes on top, I guess, to stop from bugs or whatever from getting in. But it's an interesting concept because I've never seen that used before.
anywhere. No
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah, I haven't either.
And
That's
then you get these ones.
fascinating.
These cups here are 120 pounds.
Jeez.
The stopper weighs almost 50. So it's like, did a giant use that, or was it like a ceremonial cup? I really don't know, but crazy to make the cup that big,
Would you be able to give us a little bit more of demo of the tone range of like the full spectrum of the one flute, as well as of like the metal ones, and then there's some of the rocks that you said also kind of ding or make.
you're talking about this?
Oh no! Also want to do the EM detector
Yeah.
one more time with it. But earlier you were showing you dinged one of them, and it sounded like
Oh,
pure
yeah.
metal.
Yes.
And
I know what
that
you mean now.
some
Yeah, so-
stones they like ring like bells. Yeah, I like.
Yeah, and it's all different. Like this one here, much different material, like even though the stones look the same, they're very, very different in composition. No question.
I'm
And same with like the
wondering if
table.
some are potentially like a geopolymer, like super advanced geopolymer, like that were cast as and like made by the creator, the artisan, as opposed to carving per se. But the fact that every single one's original, more likely carvings, I guess. But
Yeah, very original too. Like I mean, I've seen I have these little tiny ones, and they're under an inch. Some of them under 0.1 an inch. They're I have one here I can show you actually. Hang on one second here. I'll turn the light on. You can see this guy here, maybe next to my finger. It won't even focus on him because he's so small.
You're gonna have to place your hand
But-
underneath that so that it doesn't look through the glass. You're gonna and probably your whole hand. I don't think it'll pick.
yeah,
your
if you put your full
There
There we
open
go.
palm
Actually,
underneath.
that's kind of working.
Here, I'm gonna turn him up. I'm gonna stand him up.
Yeah, put it on an opaque surface because as far as the glass
yeah.
goes, it's not going to want to pick that. This is not enough for the IR
Yeah.
sensor to detect.
Here, I'll just bring him over here.
Yeah, set it on a flat surface. And there you go. See, that worked incredibly well. There it is.
So I have over 500 of
Look at
these
this
little
one.
tiny guys like this, and
Damn.
each one of them is unique. None of them are the same by any means. They're not just different faces and different species, but they have different symbols on the back, and every single one of them is drilled. And look how small that hole is there.
That looks like the face in the Karahan temple. Remember, Bernie, that I brought up?
Yeah, some
Yeah.
look like the Easter Island Moai. Some look like the aliens that they
Yep.
found in Nazca. Some are. It's really crazy the variation, you know.
Oh yeah, remember too that the Easter Island Moai, actually, quite a few of them have bodies buried underneath the dirt, so they're not just
Yeah. Oh, a lot
sticking
of
up.
them. Yeah.
And symbols on the back of their neck and on the bodies.
Yep. I've studied those symbols, and some of them are very similar to Abuelos. It's crazy. I'm gonna pull this out of here. This actually broke, unfortunately, but it was kind of a blessing because this tablet is fairly important. It shows something very vivid. And when you pull the piece out here that it broke, you can see how the hole, excuse me, the hole was bored, and it's got all these little rings in there. You can see, and they obviously used some sort of tool by hand to bore that thing out. You know, otherwise you wouldn't see all these, I mean, dozens and dozens of rings. You know, interesting way of going about making a hole. You know, times 6.
No, that's fascinating, man. It looks like a piece of wood, but is that stone?
It is stone, yeah. Yeah, some of this stone actually has like almost like a petrified wood grain to it. Even this
I was
table,
gonna
for
say
instance.
that almost
Well, it
looks
may
like
very well be
petrified
literally
wood.
petrified wood.
Look at this.
Most likely is.
It
I bet
could
that
be
one
a
is.
form of it, yeah, or metamorphic. You know, there's a lot of metamorphic. There's probably some sort of volcanic or geological thing. Tula is not far from one of the biggest volcanoes in Mexico, and in the Younger Dryas period, it is set to have gone off. So, to cause some of these metamorphic things is definitely possible
There
in terms
seems
of
to
the
be a lot of
geology.
like UFO activity that go in and out of volcanoes.
Yeah, big time. That's something that, you know, the bone experts, when they looked at these skulls, they related them in some ways to a cow. I mean, there were certain things that were similar to a cow, but then there was things like the weight, the strength, like this bone here, which should be really, really, really weak on a cow, and I mean it's super strong on these. But what's interesting is you see all these UFOs and cattle mutilations. They harvest the organs out of cows, and so if this species is somewhat similar to a cow, they
And
might
they
be
need the
utilizing the
certain
organs.
enzymes to survive, and so they would have to find something similar to them to extract
Bingo.
that in order to keep living.
We'll make the
And
humans
the
eat that, so there's tons
anamorphic
of them. And
anamorphic properties of a lot of these characters depicted in supposed demigods of the past, if they were potentially part animal or have these other animal species mixed in with them, thus why it would look like a mix between a human and a cow.
Well, from what I
Yeah.
understand too, like some of these beings are so ancient that there's certain consequences of that they don't produce certain enzymes, and they need humans, and they need to extract certain things from us in order to keep on living.
Yep.
Which is like, ooh.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole
Yeah,
too. With
absolutely.
Yeah.
Mark Sokol has like a very high-powered microscope, correct? Jeremiah, or do you even? I'd love to get a look at a small piece of the bone under a
Wait,
high-powered
really
microscope.
quick, that one you just had in your hand. Wait,
Mhm.
really quick, where the feather thing is. I wanted to see its face.
See if I can get better light. Here we go.
Is that like
Yes.
an alligator head?
I think it's Enki maybe, or like he's got the dragon, the feathered
Does look
serpent, maybe
good.
Quetzalcoatl or
Yeah,
something.
but
Interesting. Her in the
Yeah,
center.
her. Yes.
Wow.
And then the thing that she's holding there is interesting as well. It's almost like a scale, but it's
That
not.
reminds me of Inanna. Like, and there's all these different pictures, depictions of Inanna, and
That's
that
the
reminds.
Sumerian lady.
Yeah, the Queen of Heaven.
Okay, yeah.
And there's like Ishtar, Astarte.
Shemisha's, yeah, their daughter is Ishtar, right?
Semiramis is what you're talking about, I think.
Yeah,
But the mosaic guy
usually fits in the middle of the logo like this. Yeah.
in the comment section, someone said cows are holy because they give us mushrooms. If these artifacts are related to ancient Egypt or Sumeria in some way, that would make sense because they're related to the cult of Dionysus, basically Osiris, and some of these old gods represent.
Hathor ruled cows, right? She was the cow goddess.
Yeah, I think so. Hathor, yep.
Yeah, Isis,
Sounds
and Hathor both were depicted as.
Isis is a really big role
think
here. I'll show you
Isis
a really
ruled.
Interesting depiction of Isis here with all the planets above her, proper headdress and everything.
Ooh.
And what's crazy about this piece, I'll pull it out.
Yeah, I want to see that one.
Really
I'm so
interesting because
excited.
it's got a grid on it here with quite a few unique gems.
Tetrahedron with like a black sun in the middle.
Not sure what this gem is here. Or maybe turquoise. It's pretty good though.
All the cardinal points.
Flip it around here.
well, and the different
Wow,
pictographic symbols, like at the very bottom there on the pyramid. Oh, and at the top, right? Like they're repeating and they're identical to the same ones that I first saw on the Nassim Haramein Klaus Donna ones, and that I've found that are pretty much on all of them. The pictures of the different ones I've found so far, and the ones that you have, and they look like the origins of alchemical symbols, and some of them do actually look like complex combined alchemy symbols.
I agree. I noticed that Saturn's rings were at the top here, which I thought was really bizarre. I mean, obviously there's Jupiter, so I anoint this as Saturn. It's just interesting. You know? Like, why would they put it like that? There's certain things, and there's a few deities too that are depicted that I've never even seen before in Egypt or Sumeria. One of them is like a deity for the Eye of Ra that's depicted, and I mean, I guess maybe it is Ra, but it's purely depicted with the eye, the all-seeing eye on top of a human body.
What?
Really?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I have any depictions of it down here.
It's somewhere else?
Yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff in my safes and things.
Ooh, I want to see the stuff in the safe. That's what I'm about.
And
I still want to know why that Mythgud is levitating above the assayer's bowl. So,
you and me both, every single one. Like,
this book is really special. It's also got the eagle here as well, which I thought was pretty iconic.
Represents Zeus.
Well, absolutely.
Holding both the orbs. And what's funny is these orbs, you know, the orbs depict the angels. The angels travel in the orb form as their light body. It's shown
I
on
love
many of
that.
these pieces. And so you have the all-seeing eye here. Oops, let me turn this again. I'm sorry. I always forget. But this has the all-seeing eye at the top with these two serpents coming down with the angel wings, and I believe that this is the water god Enki over here, because the water symbol and the serpent
Well,
from the all-seeing eye.
Ea was the water god as well. The original
And then
water
the
god.
brother Enlil here, which actually is depicted. So this circle here is the eye, the deity of the eye. So it's like It's a different shape eye, I guess. And I know in Egypt there's the Eye of Horus and the Eye of Ra.
Yeah, I've
So
never
I
seen the
wonder.
eye depicted like that.
Yeah, I haven't either. But definitely on these pieces, it's frequent. I'm trying to think if I have that other somewhere.
Oh my gosh, you have one of the handbag thingy carvings.
Yeah, couple few actually. Here, I'll. This one is really rare because it comes to a point at the bottom, and it's also got a pine cone
What?
in the bag.
Stop.
But you can see here, this is the tree of life, and the being is pulling a pine cone off of it. And so we believe that the pine cones represent the fruit of life.
Whoa, that was inside of it?
Yeah, it chills in this little hole. I've got full-size pine cones and handbags too. Like
Wait,
this over
it's
here.
like in. Oh, whoa, I didn't.
This one exploded on shipment, so I'm not even going to pick it up. But you can see it's really interesting because it has one of these beings reaching into a portal.
Portal. What? Look at that. A fish dude.
Yeah,
Well,
they
the
have
fish
like
suit.
mermaid
Wouldn't he
tails
wear?
on them.
Wouldn't it was Enki, right? That would wear the fish suit.
Yeah, and the wristband. I've got one of the wrist watches of the Sumerians that are depicted on the relief, and
Whoa, where's that?
on that box.
Seriously.
It's in the safe.
Dude,
I would
this
keep
safe.
that
We
in
need to have a
the
safe
safe
show.
too.
Let's do a
No.
safe show, or let's do a
Yeah.
show where I remote view everything in the safe.
We'll
Yeah.
when we do the documentary review, I'll grab all that stuff and switch out the table so we have different stuff next time.
Amazing.
I'm like, bring everything in the safe to the show if you come in April. Let's
Never
do it.
take all the eggs into one basket.
That's cool.
Right? though I don't
bring
wanna
it
risk
in April. I want to
Yeah,
remote
no,
view it.
definitely bring some. I mean, I think that's a great
Have you
idea.
found any depictions of the Vajra on any of these?
I'm not familiar with that term. What is that?
It's like a lightning weapon that you would see in Hinduism, or like represents the lightning bolt of Zeus.
The Zeus and the Nerta hold. I haven't. No, I've looked very, very much so. I did find a Jed pillar, and I have it. It's probably the most energetic piece that I have in terms of holding it. When I was unboxing it out of the box, I pulled out, there was like 15 pieces inside of this huge box, all bubble wrapped. And I looked at my wife and I said, "This is the Jed pillar," and it was. There was no question. Like it had a vibe to it that I've never felt on anything in my life.
Wait, back on the other table you were just at, was that an owl on the far right?
An owl?
Yeah, like on the other
Mhm.
table you were just at. Turn around. Yeah, to the right. That piece right there on the right.
No, no owls.
Oh, it's not an owl.
This is a statue. I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
Down
I
on the
do have an
table,
owl
it's laying
though.
on the table.
Here's an owl for you.
Oh,
Oh wow.
that's associated
Look
with
at
Inanna.
that guy.
Whoa. There's a guy that did a presentation saying that owls, people that get like visited by owls, they get abducted that night or something. He's got it. He's got a presentation on YouTube.
I like this little guy.
Do you mind just doing a slow full table to table, shelf to shelf blacklight demo just to show the different pieces and
Bernie needs a
majority
new
green, but
background.
some are blue, some right. I'm jealous. Like Bert and Ernie the homunculus here ain't got shit on Mike's collection. Like shit.
He's like, you're not glowing enough, guys.
I'll show you too on like here I got a good example, like Awelos Dialisca. All the stuff that glows green is from Tula. This is a big mask from Awelos, and you'll see that the stones have a phosphorescent glow to them in Awelos that's very common, like this, and it really pops the carving out. You can really see the carving.
which is something that they took a lot of effort to. Even like this inlay on this thing, it's turquoise. See if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it just for a
Yep.
second. But I mean, everything down to the last gem is phosphorescent or luminescent. It's absolutely crazy. Even on the inside of this thing, you'll see DNA and aliens carved in this hole. It glows even on the inside, you know?
We definitely need to get a few little chunks of this to get tested for you, because just
That would be amazing.
even the pine cone glows. Look at how much that pine cone glows.
Oh, yeah. Here, I'll pull it out. You can see it.
Almost looks like alien skull face head there. Elongated skull guy when it was glowing.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple crystal skulls that you have that also have some phosphorescent to them, or
Yep, there's phosphorescent in almost all the crystal skulls in terms of like in their jaws, around their teeth. We think they use calcite to polish, and that's why. But like this one here is inlaid, and you can see it lights up the entire skull on the inside. Like if I take
oh, yeah.
a long exposure picture of this thing, it looks absolutely amazing. All this is a lot better with long exposure.
Oh, of course. Oh, yes. I wanted to ask for this necklace, this pendant necklace again, because the beads are showing red.
Yeah, and they're likely calcite, but still, to light up like a Christmas tree like that, it's really cool. I mean, a lot of effort was made to get these things to look that way.
I want to believe this so bad, but I never know until I like really view something and have a deeper
It
look.
took me 3 years before I could admit it, and still, like, I have a hard time like telling people that I believe this fully. You know, like it was
What's
really
your
easy to
favorite
write
piece?
on the.
What's your favorite piece? What's your favorite piece?
That's too hard. I mean,
Do you have a top 3?
it really depends, because some pieces are really like historical, and then
No,
other
that like
pieces are really
that changed your
energetic.
like that convinced you, like that the pieces that were like, oh, dude, come on.
Yeah, gosh. Well, that Jed pillar that I was talking about earlier, for sure, that piece is really unique.
And maybe
one
some of
that's
the tablets that most
This
inspire
scepter right here,
story.
this scepter is really crazy too. I'll show you the box for it first. You can see the.
And like you're saying that they sell these at
Horus?
rather
that
like
Horus?
underwhelming prices, because the Mexican government has labeled anything that has elongated skull, alien sort of depiction connection as an automatic fraud and fake, so that
Yep.
none of these legally are considered real or antiquities. And that is why you are able to legally import them, own them, resell them, because government claims they're fake. Just like the there's the Inca or Ica stones.
Inca stones, yeah.
Yeah,
Wait,
and
so that was
then
Horus? Wait, back on the basis of that was Horus on the other side
Yes.
of that. That's very interesting, because Horus is depicted off of the Aplomado bird, which is indigenous to North America.
Okay.
Which is, yeah, so it's very telling, because a lot of the things that were taught about Egypt actually took place in America, in like Egypt and Utah, and
Grand Canyon.
yes, the Grand
yeah.
Canyon, which is why when G.E. Kincaid found certain things inside of a particular location in the Grand Canyon, it was there was Egyptian hieroglyphs there. There was a Buddha
Giants
there. There
and
was
sarcophagus. And
yes,
the exact
but
same
like,
things I'm
but
showing
to me,
you.
it's like when you take it to literal facts of like the Aplomado bird, he's constantly depicted as the Aplomado bird. The Aplomado bird is indigenous to America, and that's telling. So to see something like this that was found in Mexico, in the northeastern part of Mexico, right? So that
Yep.
would be close to, not too far away from Arizona, the Grand Canyon, and Utah. And
Yep.
those depictions is like, it's not far-fetched whatsoever. Not only that, but there's tunnels that connect all these places.
And look at what you
That was
find in the
probably
four
open for
corners.
travel, so it's not too crazy to think like they traveled underground and above ground, and that they were more connected than you'd ever think.
Yeah, I think you're right on there. I mean, it's absolutely a possibility that whole, I mean, Utah and the Four Corners, all that used to be Mexico,
Oh, in
So
fact,
it's
actually, today Julie Ryder posted a pictures saying that she was intuitively called, and she was at the Montana Megalith, and basically, like, she came across this statue that is, which she feels is Horus, and she posted a picture showing that it's Horus and that its connection to Egypt. And then that's when I sent her my meme on the Aplamato bird and it being indigenous to North America. And she was like, you can add in the Montana megalith statue that like you could add that into to support that argument.
So Jeremiah, are you still with us, brother?
Yeah, just for a minute here, but I'm going to jump off.
So before you go, if there was any couple specific items or little pieces that Mike could get you for a sample to get, for you to observe and test with the means that you have yourself to get a more, in touch opinion and scientific analysis of some of this stuff, what would it be that
on the personal level?
Yeah.
I have the ability for a very weak form of radio spectrogram, and I should say radioactive spectrogram, and that's not necessarily going to be a high point of those things. So I don't have dating capabilities here. I don't have isotope measurement capabilities here. I would have to contact an external lab just like anybody else would. So that's going to be something I'll have to do through a coordinated network. I don't have it on the end of my thumb here just to trigger it. So it's something I have to figure out later on. I can't do it on the spot.
I'm more saying like that stuff for the dating aspects. So get in contact with Michael Perone, as I've heard from several people that he has the connections and ability to do it. But for yourself, say like a sample of like the rock or the clay, the composite, or a certain crystal or the bone or something, if you can get a couple little pieces of each to like check out under microscopes and do chemical analysis in small ways, is there anything you could do that way?
Well, my laboratory is not really set up for analysis so much as it is set up for simulation. And so I can bombard and expose various materials and samples to extraordinarily large electric and magnetic field fluxes. And those can sometimes cause emergent properties to suddenly appear out of various materials. Like my work with Rochelle salts, for example, they have emergent properties that aren't immediately obvious at the surface when you stress them to the point where they're just about to crack. And so there have been a lot of stuff that I've done in that respect, but I don't have the radiological dating classic investigatory science type of stuff here. It's really sort of a run it until you break it kind of science here. So it's not necessarily the right lab to test artifacts unless you have something that acted weird and you wanted to stimulate it with some kind of high energy radiation source or some kind of magnetic source.
That reminds me,
my lab is set up for doing.
Before you go, wow, that looks like a ring for a Titan. My God.
And I can't believe how much light is getting through it.
Right? That's absolutely.
And what's crazy is when you test this gold with the XRF, each place of gold is a different alloy, and none of it's purified. It's all like hand tapped. and there's rare earth elements like rhodium and platinum and that sort of stuff found in the gold regularly. Even things like radium was found in the gold as well.
Wow.
But the fact that it tests different in every spot on every piece is really unique to me, because you know, you'd have
That's
to
just
hand tap that.
unreasonable. That's insane, right? Like each piece from somewhere else with different properties, with different alloys. Now I remember what I was going to say, Jeremiah. Before you take off, Mike, do you mind quickly going over some of the pieces with your EM detector again, just to show the levels of electromagnetic
Yeah,
activity?
and you know, it's like the electro and the radio both. You know, I'll step away from the table. I got about 10 or 11 in here. There's like a static. And it varies piece to piece.
It's actually a pretty decent tri-field meter. I really love the audio function. That's something I wanted to build into our new set of meters for our time
It's
series.
really great. It's strange, you know. I don't really have any scientific explanation. What is weird, though, that I do kind of have a theory is you find all these depictions of these pharaohs holding pendulums, and you'll also see, like, this is one of the pendulums here, and you can see him holding it in his hands here. And there's lots of these type of depictions with these pieces. Now, one of the guys down there in Abuelo said he was visited by extraterrestrials when he was like 13 years old, and the extraterrestrials gave him this all-seeing eye pendulum, and they explained to him how to find pieces with it. Now, that to me was complete bullshit, because I was asking these people how they were finding it. Are you using geo radar, etc.? And this was the story I got from these guys. And so, you know, down the road, we find that there's EMF in these pieces like that. Could it be that the pendulum has some sort of tug to that? Maybe. I guess. I don't know.
That's
It's
actually
crazy.
it's quite a bit more plausible than you might think, considering that
Right.
you can synthesize these things rather easily. Like I could, for example, make a pendulum that'd be highly responsive. It would be a non-magnetic thing. You check it with magnetometer, and it wouldn't give you anything, but it would respond to the nuclear spin of another material.
Interesting. Huh. That's really cool. That blows my mind, because, I mean,
Yeah, what we're
these
really
guys
talking
are
about here is
responsible
a
for
nuclear
finding.
spin coupling coefficient. So just
It,
imagine that the individual nuclei, they have an orientation within the lattice structure of whatever material they're made out of, and you would have a responsiveness for other things to try and align with their same spin axes.
Interesting.
And as they fall in, if they're slightly misaligned, they may do an orbiter rotation like you'd expect from a classic pendulum motion. And so perhaps it could be an indicator. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
entirely unplausible.
That's what I thought too. Is it is possible. It's just crazy. You know, these kids are responsible for finding over 1,500 of these pieces, and it's
That's
like
like an 8-pointed star right there, huh? The one with the red jewel in the center.
this here.
Like an 8, yeah, but the 8
Yeah.
is an 8-pointed star with the indications on the circular. Okay.
Yeah. Look at this one here. I thought this star to be really iconic.
I have
The
a question.
8-pointed
Have you
star is
ever
like it
done
says to
That's a
do
7.
Inanna, the Queen of Heaven,
Oh,
but also the Black Sun.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
7.
7. That's just like the one at the Vatican.
this is
Right,
one of
in
my
their
last questions before
courtyard,
I
they have
jump
a
off here. But I'm
they have a
curious.
big obelisk inside of a 8-pointed star.
So, have you ever
That's
found
7 points.
any of these things yourself, or are most of these
Nope.
being found
I've
by other
never been
people?
to Mexico. No, I sent over $500,000 down there for research and buying pieces. So it's like, at this point, I'm scared for my passport to get scanned. You know, the places that these are in are highly, you know, cartel infested, and they're very dangerous for
Well,
us
Mike,
to go
like we were
to. So.
talking, Mike and I were talking earlier, and I was like, you know, I tell people, look, you think the drug cartels is like the underworld? Like, you're sadly mistaken. Like, they look organized and reasonable compared to the ancient relics. It's an underworld beneath an underworld, like absolutely ruthless. So be careful.
The real shadow government is probably Satan, and that's the reality that we might have to face at some point in the future. You know, like even our own presidents are saying that they're not in control of our country here in America. Well, maybe that's why.
I suppose it's probably time for me to hop off and Netflix and chill with girlfriend. So
Oh, tell Liminal I love her. I love you, Jeremiah. You guys are the greatest.
she's pretty great. I'll tell her.
Love Liminal. Love you, Jeremiah. Thanks for joining in. And did you say you had one last question before you were jumping off, or were you able to ask that?
Actually, it's a lot. It's a lot to think about. He answered my question there, and it was where he acquired the artifacts. So he has been basically paying other people to go and dig these things up and ship them over.
Yep. Yeah, I've been working with Gen 6 as well as I've investigated over 30 different families down there. I've offered money to get custom pieces made. I tried to trip them up somehow, to put them against each other. I've offered many different things to try to figure out a way to get them to slip up. And everybody's story in multiple localities all matches exactly, which is really uncommon for people that are competing against each other to sell me a product, that they're working together on the same story. It just doesn't add up, right?
Right, exactly. Because that would be the immediate thought is, okay, so he's not been there and personally dug these things up, so maybe he's getting tricked somehow potentially to get these
That's
things.
why the Gen 6 documentary that he's showing is so invaluable, because this is exactly what I would do if I was down there trying to do this. Like I would try to show these in their entirety, and that's exactly what they did.
So yeah, you're saying in this video, the 4-hour video, that there's a couple of videos of them starting from scratch the excavation processes.
Every one of these. You'll see 40 or 50 items pulled out of the ground from multiple locations in Mexico, start to finish, all the way down to the 14-foot level.
Yeah, that's pretty. I'm not gonna lie, man. That's definitely like somebody you're put out.
There's one exactly like what I have right there.
Or it's pretty damn convincing. I'll give it that.
Crazy, right?
It is. It really leaves somebody wondering if these are real, if these are genuine artifacts, if nobody's pulling one over on somebody. And the only
they're using ground penetrating radar there to detect them is what's showing.
Well, if these are actual artifacts, if these were not fabricated in modern times based, on what we've had going on with the alien conspiracy BS, right? But if these are actually coming out of the ground like that and they've been there for extended periods of time, then one really has to wonder, basically anything over 200 years old, the characters portrayed in modern times from these, abduction, blah, 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 and big olive shaped eyes kind of characters that we kind of considered modern. But if these are not modern, if they're actually quite old, then it really does demand that we reconsider whether or not such conspiracies may have been grounded in more truth.
Yep. Well said.
Absolutely. And so 6 hours of testimonials.
Well, it's 4 hours of digs, and then there's a few hours of testimonials and interviews with the guys that did it. So.
And you sent me a copy of it for free to watch, so I'm going to watch it after this, and we will do another stream after I've watched it the next week or two, and I'll pick out some timestamps to show of the full video to show some more legitimacy behind it. And I can show like a 30-second clip of them starting the dig, and then like a 30-second clip of it ending, and we'll give my own word that I watched the 40 minutes in between of it uncut sort of thing, and we'll go from there. But
They keep it
Also,
moving really well. It's actually quite impressive. It's not just like, oh, okay, we're sitting here watching these
looks high
men
budget.
bend over all day. Like they really edited it well. There was over 40 hours of footage, and they got it down to 4, and they did really, really well.
That
Yeah, there's only
looks-
one way to find out. I mean, it's an investigation that needs to happen, and
Yep, agreed.
it's certainly something that, man, I'm having trouble
It's
deciding
intriguing.
one way or the other, realistically, because I don't have enough data.
Only real science, real hard science, is going
Please.
to give us the answer, and that a positive sign towards that is that you're saying there's been so much rejection and issue in the academic community of actually getting these things tested and verified, and that a lot of the time the institutions won't touch it with a 10-foot pole and don't even respond to you.
Yep.
And that
They don't want
logically,
to lose funding. A lot of these museums and a lot of these places won't put their neck on the line because
the science labs we're talking about.
lose funding.
They'll get canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Nassim Harriman, when he came out with Klaus Dona, he got canceled for years.
Wait, I'm
Nassim
shocked by that.
didn't-
Like him and Braden, like what is the NDA with? You guys are saying it's Gaia. Is it really Gaia?
Okay,
Do
so
you know that?
supposedly Taurus Tech is where the NDA is actually held through, and Taurus Tech is being funded by Gaia, I believe. Taurus is their lab, but supposedly they were working on one of these tablets in the lab. This was per Emery Smith, and they unlocked some sort of frequency that caused some sort of weird portal to open. They didn't know how to close it. It freaked them out very, very much, and since then an NDA has been signed and no information has been let out about it.
You said is the Taurus lab like TORUS or
Yeah, Taurus Tech.
TAU? What?
No, Taurus, like a Taurus inside of a
Like a Taurus field.
like a spinning Taurus or whatever.
Okay.
TAURUS.
And Emery
Yeah.
said this?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, not to
shoot.
me directly, but to a very close colleague. I've tried to reach out to Emery multiple times and he won't respond.
Well, I wish I knew this before I was in Vegas with him.
Yeah, I know, I heard you mention the name
A
earlier. I was like, oh,
controversial
small world.
figure. Have you ever seen this spot, Mike?
Yeah,
So I've seen a video where like
It's
this
fake.
cord here, it's fake, where they
yeah, where they
jackhammer
go
into
down the
this.
long stairwell and then all of a sudden at the end there's pieces like, actually my piece
Yeah,
is
it's
in that video.
I could tell it was edited, and it looked like it
Yep,
was
this,
like
this piece right here is in that video, and it's mine, and that's my footage, and yeah, I noticed that, but no,
But
that's
the
multiple videos.
jackhammering of it open though. Is that legit? And do you know where this location is in Mexico? Like, can we?
I've heard that
inquire
that's in Peru, near is it Pumapunku? No, I can't remember the
Pumapunku.
name of it there. Yeah,
Saskatchewan.
yeah, Cusco down in Peru.
Cusco
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Graham Hancock's in Peru right now.
Peru's definitely another rabbit hole of information on this stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff being covered there as well.
Oh, it
I
is.
know I have a guy down there that has over 60 artifacts with gold and similar depictions to what I have.
Ooh, that Gilgamesh. Ooh.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Gilgamesh.
I wonder if that's
and,
real. Yeah.
Nimrod. Well, I've actually found.
I heard that in the
over here-
70s they started taking, like, what they did was they had taken these, they had these ancient people like what you're looking at right here, these ancient beings that were buried.
Like
They
flesh.
got their DNA and then they started implementing in the really psychic women and making certain projects out of them, like,
Yep.
and you know.
That's what it says in the Bible, even that the angels came down, or the God's children came down and mated with the women because they were fair. That's in Genesis chapter 6. And I mean,
Yep.
that's crazy.
So,
Where's the children,
from the videos I've analyzed of these Gilgamesh, Nimrod, supposed fleshy mummies, I've actually found remaining over 8 of different king corpses of these, and the 2 bigger ones that appeared to be 12 to 15 feet in height and just decked out in gold from toe to crown on top. like full golden armor. Those two have been expunged, and I have not been able to find a video or photo of them online in the last 10 plus years. But the ones that are remaining are short clips of like 1 to 2 minute clips of each one of these places, the tombs being entered and whatnot. But when I originally saw these videos 10 to 20 years ago, when they first came out, that they were all 20 to 45-minute long videos. And Carmen Bolter, RIP to her,
Ooh,
but
look at that.
she had also published one of these oh my goodness, tombs that they entered, and she found in Egypt that was identical, and it was gold artifacts just littered, like you couldn't walk because it was like 3 feet of piled up just golden everything. And just, it was mind blowing. And then the tomb of these fleshy, supposed mummified deity king demigods that they seem identical to the reports of the fleshy mummified king queens in China that they've also recovered.
Interesting.
They do almost seem like they're in a suspended animation state. But that was a little off topic. Back to these artifacts, and that they have the, like, that's alchemical symbols, pictographic language. Like, that looks like technology, instructions.
It's the technological aspect that I really wanted to focus on going forward. But for tonight, I'm going to have to jump off here.
No, Jeremiah, don't go. We need you.
I gotta go. Yeah, I'm gonna watch this video that she pulled up here. Coldplay, the scientist.
Liminal just rolled up. Oh, I would go too.
Well, yeah, we're gonna follow.
I guess I should put us all on screen there so we can say hi and bye before you go. Love you, Jeremy or Jeremiah. Jeez,
it was nice talking to you, man.
Oh, I'm never gonna get out of that one. With the I'm always gonna be somewhere between Jeremy and Jeremiah. I think for the general public.
True, very close. But yeah, so this one here, I believe, is like 1.5 meters in height. It's a giant emerald tablet, and there's like a whole bunch of them this size. Just
we've documented probably 40 of those tablets, and so I believe to say that they might be false.
Right, so that's what I was thinking, is these ones could potentially be frauds.
Yeah. You know why? We've seen Bahamut, and we've also seen the Lady Guadalupe, both depicted with the same carving style and on the same material. And Lady Guadalupe seems really far-fetched to be on something that's 10,000 years old. So could it be more modern that these tablets were made? Yes. These could have been made 1,000 years ago in Guerrero. And that's something that we are finding, is some of these pieces are only 1,000 years old. Like
with this one, so you're saying this is a duplication of that one. With the other one that we were talking about is in the British Museum, of the timeline of like indicating what was going on in the sky. Like the duplication, is that what you're saying?
No. In terms of just someone made it modernly to depict that, or more modernly than 10,000 years ago, due to the depictions of Bahamut and Bahamut was only wrote about, like, I think it was in the 1400s or the 1700s, and then Lady Guadalupe, I think, was it may be in a similar era, but nowhere near 10,000.
Right, and also in these giant emerald tablet ones, I've seen a couple with like mermaids depicted in them and some other questionable things where it's just like they're completely different in style. But like you said, it could be much later civilization because they are from a different area,
or different
or
tribe.
they could be potential fakes and frauds, right? Like that's inevitably there will be fakes and frauds made and added into the overall market and sale and process, but the ones that are all identical or parallel in the manufacture, the materials, the inscription style, the different pictographic language inscriptions in it, and the stories that are in them. They're all from the exact same areas and would be the ones that are most likely legitimate.
Yep. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think that.
Whoa, is that a pig?
This
that
is
a pig
India.
right
No, this is India, but look at how similar that is to some
Okay.
of these guys, right? Oh, and sorry, one last time with the Gilgamesh. Oh my God, forgot the other one's name. Whoever
Nimrod.
these Nimrod, yeah, whatever they could be. That look at this tomb is completely encased in gold.
Sexy. Gilgamesh looks sexy.
Yeah, hey Stash.
And what is this gold box with all the gems?
What's crazy
Oh,
with that
here,
box
Jim.
too is it kind of looks similar to a Tula box.
I'm gonna have to jump off here, but thanks for the show.
Thanks for coming on.
It was really
Jeremiah, come on, look at Gilgamesh. Come on.
It's really interesting to take a look at the artifacts. This is something that I'd want to do on a private call. Maybe just go over the collection and take a look at some specific pieces that happen to possess properties that we were looking for. So that's something that we'll do privately at another time. But for now, I'm going to jump off here and
fair enough.
Wish you all the best.
Absolutely, anytime, man. Have a good night.
You too.
And
take it easy, everyone.
You as well, brother. And glad that we got one step closer from those gotta be fake, get a scam, to hey, I'm a little bit interested and let's investigate them a little more.
Well, I only have as much information as Alien Carvings has, right? So that's I think both of us want the answers and the truth on that. So so Liminal obviously is looking at this stuff too, and her immediate response was like, I think they're playing him. So
women's intuition.
My wife said the same thing.
That some relevance and vet that, which means
look at
nice.
This is someone that wrote
requirement there.
Yeah, someone has copied the symbols off of the carving onto paper, and
that's kind of badass,
right? Like that's alchemy symbols. They're also
book here. I'll
technology.
Show you. That gal that does that here worked with Oleg Elistrov and Audrey to make this book. This is on Amazon. It's called Mexico Paleo Contact, and it's got a dramatic amount of the same type of drawings and things all translated like that. But it goes into deep stuff. They've got carbon dates and a lot of ceramic thermoluminescent dating.
What's the name of that book?
It's called Mexico Paleo Contact.
Okay,
and this is a PhD that wrote this, Oleg Elistrov here.
Oh, I just wanted to pop in real quick here. This is Liminal about what Jeremiah was saying. I was looking at some of these very finely preserved pieces, and I was wondering where they might have originated to be preserved in a way that looks like they were hermetically sealed,
Yeah, like some of the pieces were. Some of the pieces were found in tombs at the pyramid of Quetzalcoatl is down there in Tula Hidalgo, and there's a farmer that owns some land that borders up to the fence that goes to the sacred site, and they use georadar and different types of GPR to locate and to do the prospecting. And then they found an entire tomb. You can see right there, if you look to the left of that hole, you'll see the alien pointing in. You see that little figure there?
Yeah, I see it.
Not anymore, but yeah, you'll see
Yeah,
them right
yeah,
there on the
right there,
left.
right there. Yeah,
So
yeah,
the
right.
entire tomb is filled with that. And if you look at the way he's standing, and then look at this piece that I'm showing you guys here.
Oop. So sorry, 1 second to
One of these,
compare. There we go.
same type of deal, you know.
Oh yeah, like, and oops, sorry. Back to
So
this one.
that's pretty nuts.
Like, and that's literally in the rock, dirt, or clay,
Yeah,
I guess, carved
and it's
into
littered. It's the
the
ancient
bedrock.
bedrock. It's
Yeah,
down at
it's
the
bedrock,
14-foot
carved into
level.
bedrock.
Yep.
Yeah, some of those
Or-
pieces look a lot more realistic for from like that site. What I would expect to see for the artifacts. Some of them just looked so pristine. I was like, "Am I looking at fine art?"
Yeah.
I kind of just
Oh,
walked by. I didn't know what I was looking at. I was like, "Whoa, that looks cool."
That's one thing that the guy that's digging him up in the documentary, he says, you know, people come at me and they're like, oh, that has the natural erosion and stuff, and you know, that's surprising. But the reality is the stuff that surprised him, he said, was the stuff he was pulling out of the ground that looked brand new.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
very surprising.
Well, I think the ones that are like telescopes too, it's very telling.
and there's always the potential and reality that, you know, you're getting a certain percentage of legitimate real ones, and that they throw in a mixture of, you know, new fake ones
This is a
to
fact.
get
This
more, right?
happens
Like,
all the
I mean,
time.
it's not hard to find an old rock and then carve into it. So
What is hard though is to maintain the level of quality, and also the storyline. There's no duplications. There's no anything that's been repeated. And what we've noticed is that we have found some fakes, especially of these green statues out of the green banded calcite. But
yeah,
the
this
difference
sort of
is the
ones.
depth of carving, the symmetry of the, when you look at these with a high end microscope, you can see that there's no symmetry on the real ones, whereas there's absolutely bits or dremels or whatever used on the false. And then also the price tag. The price tag was the biggest giveaway for us of the fake ones, because the sellers would be so strict about how much they'd get for it, and they would charge them a lot. Like they were trying to pull a fast one over on the
They
tourist with
would
their
want
price.
more money for the fake ones, correct?
Bingo.
Because of the amount of work it takes to
Bingo.
make them. And I bet
Versus
the
for
fake
free coming out of the
ones,
ground.
right? And that the fake one, or the real ones, were probably higher quality of pieces as well, with more gemstones, precious metals,
And
etc.
detail,
compared to the
language,
fake
and art. Everything is so jam
craftsmanship.
packed on the real ones, you know.
Oh yeah, you can see right there that this is a full excavation site.
Yeah, it's the tail end. So at the end of the documentary, they find this tomb, they find the bedrock, but they don't have time to finish it. And then they came back, and now they're finishing it right now. This is actually going on as we speak here. So
Like, look at this big pillar, like this almost monolith or megalithic block right above it, right? Like, was there a catastrophe, this mud flood that so many talk of, or ancient tsunami cataclysm, whatever it was, knocking over stuff over, burying it, and then all the debris there, potentially pre-cataclysm, right?
yeah, exactly.
Last time we were or if we still got, oh no, Liminal and Jeremiah just left, so she'll have to watch the replay of the black light UV stuff. But it's just so awesome. We'll go through a little bit
It's
more
hard to
of your
put down. You
TikTok.
know, that's I can't quit until I know, and I feel pretty confident now, but still, you know, I really want the DNA. I really want to see what these schools are. There's still a lot of questions, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I know there's some truth to the story now, so now it's just a matter of discerning what that is exactly.
And thank you, Lady Locks, $20 super sticker. John Sup John, $2 super stickers, and Agent Smith 6079 Smith W. Love what you do, player. Love you too, G. Thank you all for supporting this work. And yeah, so I just posted your TikTok in the live chat for everybody, and we'll play a little bit more here.
That skull that they just showed being dug out of there. I was offered that skull, and I passed on it thinking it was false. Now I look back, I'm just like, oh.
So which one? This one?
Real or not real, it doesn't change the questions. That gets your people's brains thinking. When you see certain symbols, it gets
this one.
Certain things that are activated within you just by looking at it. That's why I'm like really curious about the symbols and this language that are on some of these relics of what you have, because it's important.
Agreed.
And just looking at
probably
it,
more than we know too, or more than we suspect.
Well, absolutely, but our subconscious knows. There's certain things that within us, like in our DNA, when we hear someone's voice, we're able to discern and we're able to vibrate just based off of their voice. They could be reading a nursery rhyme and we'll know. Yep. So, and there's just certain things that are activated. And our DNA is photonic. It's photonic. It gives off a light. And there's certain ancient things that are able to read that light. And it's a crystalline quartz technology that's able to do that. Yeah. So when we look at, some of these relics and they're able to glow, like there's things within us that it activates, but.
Well, we noticed calcite being the most common thing in this next to quartz for mineral composition between both Abuelos and Tula. And what's really interesting with the calcite is there's all these depictions of the pineal gland and these rituals and things. And we've actually shown in recent, the last 5 years, I think the study came out where they were able to detect microcalcite crystals within the pineal gland. And they were even able to show that they harmonically resonated together in certain conditions.
Yes, I've done presentations on the cerebral spinal fluid, and we basically have a crystalline technology that resides within us. Yep. And we're able to access things that supersedes anything we've ever been taught, and our bones are piezoelectric, and same with our cerebral spinal fluid. So, yeah, I completely agree with what you just said.
Yep.
That's just so fascinating. So these are clips up on your TikTok from the
that's the skull there.
The J6. But these are clips taken from that documentary.
Yep.
Gen 6.
I'll be posting more over the next few days too. I'm trying to help them promote it. So.
Whoa, that right there, that skull. Whoa.
That's the one I passed on. I mean, it looks
that's
so
the one you
brand
passed
new.
on?
Yeah.
What made you want to pass on it? The teeth?
It just looks so modern. In terms,
it does look like a sugar skull. It does look like the sugar skull.
I had a hard time buying it. But it's a solid calcite. It's not quartz. It's calcite. It glows red, and and it's legit. And I messed up on that deal. I could have got it for like $1,500. It's like 40 pounds.
Look at that thing. And calcite that glows red. And yeah, like you can see them accidentally breaking.
Wait, the calcite you said glows red?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I can show you an example here.
There's so many people that have been.
Hang on. Turn this off.
There's a lot of bodies that have been found, and then they do the autopsy on it, and it's cinnabar, and it's like, wait, what did they ingest? They ingest. Oh, what is that?
What? So some parts glowing green, others red simultaneously in the same piece.
Yep.
And like you said, when you were how many pieces had you purchased, and how long of a time frame had passed since your first purchases or your friend's first purchases from the market when he went down there and you acquired your first pieces to the time that you discovered that they were phosphorescent and glow in the dark?
About a year and a half went by. I collected probably close to 100 pieces, and you know, like I say, my one buddy knew that he
Oh
had a
man,
couple of them.
look at that one. That one does like red, green, and blue and like shifts. What?
Yeah.
That
Pretty
one has
wild.
energy. That one reminds me of a Ouija board.
And it even has a clear
piece,
window
right?
that you can see
I
through.
know,
Yeah.
right?
It's crazy. Scary stuff. Let me see if I can show you these bones from Guerrero here. I'm not sure if I'll be able to pick it up on here, but they glow as well. Yeah, it's not going to show it. It's a very dim phosphorescence, but still, to get bones to do that, it's very strange.
I just got a phone call from somebody that was like heavy breathing. It was a no caller ID. And I was like, hello? And they were like breathing heavy.
Always creepy and unnecessary.
Nothing like doing a stream on, some underworld relics, and then getting a call from a no caller ID that's like heavy breathing that won't say a thing. Anyways, I thought it was funny.
Go away, weirdos. Leave Julia alone.
It's crazy. There's like gold inlay on the stone on this piece here as well. It's an interesting inlay technique, though.
Look at that gold, right? It's like
To compare some of these shapes and stuff to just like things that are found in like Mayan calendars and stuff. Of
Yeah.
the way it's done.
Yeah, a lot of if you look at Aleister Crowley's work, he was given access to the French depository of all the war crime prizes that France stole from Africa. That's where the tarot deck comes from. That's where a lot of the witchcraft and esoteric, occult information was released and translated from was Aleister Crowley, and he has some really interesting things to do with this topic. He has a
Yeah, I
book.
mean his like whole thing about like he's come across this information saying like, look, the gods want 14-year-old blue-eyed boys. That's very, and he's kicked out of Sicily and
It's a story. It's a story for sure.
But he grew up highly Christian.
Yep. I think there's
The
truth in
monolith. Wait,
everywhere.
is there any symbols on the monolith right there?
Which this thing?
Yes. Whoa. What about on the bottom? Okay. Interesting. And there's like a
Vesica one here.
No, the Vesica Pisces, everything that I'm shown, like the Taurus field here, the Vesica Pisces. That's why I started a movement, or no, one day I will start a movement of the Vesica Pisces. They're like, is it flat? Is it round? I'm like, it's Vesica Pisces. Okay. It's Vesica Pisces. That's all you need to know. It's a Taurus field.
Yeah, the Taurus is a really powerful thing. Nassim goes really deep on it. I've taken a couple master classes just trying to get question and answers with him. And
Oh, I came across him in like 2019. He was at the Conscious Life Expo. I'm surprised he didn't. I'm really surprised that Braden and him won it. I mean, that's why I was very curious to find out like what NDA did they sign for? Like what kind of what? Like they really? Because I mean, Braden gets like at least 13 grand for every, at least minimal, like 13 grand for every appearance he makes.
Jeez, that's impressive.
No doubt.
I don't even think he's like PhD level.
PhD.
So
Oh, Nassim has a PhD.
do you
in-
feel like this is Mayan?
No, this outdates Mayan by 5. This is where the Mayans got their astrological stuff from, though, probably.
more likely the Olmec and you're saying Toltec and in the Toltec area of
Yeah, the predecessors to the Toltec, essentially. So Tula is the Toltec capital. It's the death city. And that's where the gates of hell are supposedly located,
And
which is
Toltec?
interesting.
Wait. And the gates of hell are where?
In the Tula, in the city of death.
Tula, Tulla.
No, just Tula, Tula Hidalgo. Yeah, that's also where the story of the Atlantean guardians that stand on top of the pyramid of Quetzalcoatl are as well. So it's a lot of demonic, hellish things coupled with Atlantis type things
What I was very curious
in
about
the
is
area.
how did they choose their sacrifices? How did they choose?
Well, they played games and some, there was gladiator type
Like
games where the
soccer
losers
matches, right?
would be the sacrifice. Um,
my
but yeah,
guess is the same way Epstein did. Just kidding.
What's crazy is like, all these sacrifices. Well, it's like, so people were sacrificing to the gods. That's what it says in our history books, right? Well, were they sacrificing to the gods because the gods were actually these things there and they ate the humans, like it says? Or is this, is this why we have that whole satanic cult Luciferian, child trafficking thing, like you said, with Epstein? Is this where this comes to? And that's why it's being covered up as well? Very possible.
Right.
Because it is the elite of the elite involved, and it's a cover up like no other.
Well, yeah, the Amrita, they say that the Soma is what the gods gave the gods a life of immortality, that they would drink the Soma and it would give them a life of immortality. And what was in the Soma? Was it human cerebral spinal fluid? Was it a mixture of human blood and monoatomics? That like what are they getting high on that gives them the eternal life? And why would you need? And then that's the thing about adrenochrome is like the fact that it has to be extracted from a living body, and then to become a connoisseur of that product and be like, well, I want the kind that has a high melanin type, and I want the kind that's been has the most adrenaline in the blood. Like, oh gosh.
Man, the makeup of the materials of these are just astounding as well. Another possibility I've often pondered with all these supposed sacrifices, especially over in Mesoamerica, South America, that they claim happening, could it have potentially just been an earlier genocide by the Jesuit conquerors, and just like they wiped out their written languages, oral histories, and the real genocides that are documented against these people and their remaining culture before they were conquered? Could it also be a lie, and could it just have been them being massacred by the conquerors that was the Spanish Inquisition over there?
That one's interesting. That's like half of its face looks reptilian and the other half is not.
Yeah, it's a state of duality. It's a very common thing you'll see on literally hundreds of these pieces. I'll show you another example here. Like you can see here, completely different faces, different eye structures, different mouth structure.
It reminds me of parasites, really.
But you see this symbol here, the sickle, I believe it is. The sickle and the bird, I think, is for Enlil, and this would be Enki, maybe over here.
Wait, if you said Enlil is with birds, what would Enki be representing?
Well, no, he's the sickle and the bird, I think. And then you have the other bird here.
I've heard it opposite. I've heard
Northern
Enki was the one that enslaved us, and then I've heard like Enki's
Yep.
the one that was trying to free us.
So here's my theory is that the whole Bible and things, you know, you're familiar with the story of the Tower of Babel, right?
Correct.
Well, supposedly Enlil, you know, was gone, and Enlil was the master Satan of the Garden of Eden, which was in Africa, and that's where they were mining gold. That's why there's all these ancient gold mines in Africa that we don't know who made it, right? And so that was Enlil's thing. He developed us. They did genetic manipulation. They created a species to be able to perform the tasks that he wanted. He was their god. He told everybody that he was the one and only Yote Vote. And so then that's he left and went to other planets to do more genetic experiments, and the serpent came into the garden, which was actually Anki, you know, the feathered serpent, and he came in there and gave the forbidden knowledge to humans, which was actually the truth that they were being slaved, and that wasn't his real, you know, that he wasn't the real God. And so in the Bible, it says that at one time heaven and earth were together as one, and when that was split up, it caused the entire world to shake and get rearranged. And I think when that occurred, that's when Enlil came back and he saw that the people had been told the truth. He flipped out, knocked over the Tower of Babel, and basically took all of our languages and dialects and tried to confuse us, deceive us, put us into a completely different state of understanding, washed away everything that he possibly could, thinking that he would confuse us and dumb us down to the point. That's why our age limit is 125 at the max. He literally put a cap on there because he created us with the breath of God. You know, he created us with God's image in mind, but to enslave us so we could be little worker bees. And when we were told the truth, we actually had the power to overpower Enlil. And in that case, he was scared and dumbed us down as far
Wait,
as he
who is
possibly
he? Who
could.
is he? Who is he that did this
And
to us?
Enlil or
Okay,
Satan,
and Lil. So Enki,
Saturn.
you're saying Enki's the one that wanted to help us free us.
Yeah, Anki might be Jesus or a person who represents that. Same with Horus. They were put through a lot of the similar trials and tribulations. Horus was actually crucified on a cross in Egypt, which is interesting to me. He was also resurrected by ISIS, supposedly. Yeah, you know,
That's what I was talking about earlier. Is like he's depicted as the Aplamato bird, and the Aplamato bird is indigenous to America. And so a lot of the things, the findings that were found, that we find, is actually it predates what we're taught about Egypt. You know, predated and took place in America.
yeah, yep. And the Grand Canyon is going to tell us everything we need to know. That's what we got
Let's
to
get down
demand.
there.
Yeah,
Let's go,
let's
alien
do it.
carvings.
We got drones and stuff nowadays. Like it shouldn't be too hard to get.
Did you see that
No,
video? You
actually,
haven't
the
seen that video.
drone.
You're
Hold on,
TikTok
hold on.
of the girls
Our
with
friend
that have
Julia,
like a
pause,
field.
Julia. The Rex Bear, our friend Leak Project, he went down to the Grand Canyon and published footage on a video interview I did with him 2 years ago of his drone being crashed down by the government, and it was most likely done by the Apache helicopter that came up from the canyon and chased him out of there.
They got a base right by it.
Oh, actually, Bernie, the tablet that he talked about in that stream was the tablet that I'm working on. What a small world.
Right? We got to do a stream together with Rex as well. He's great stuff. But yeah, it's a no-fly zone over the Grand Canyon. It is,
and also the four peaks that are around the valley that Kincaid discovered this. The four peaks are named after Egyptian gods: Osiris, Isis.
or how about 45?
There's 45 peaks named after Egyptian gods.
Yeah, there's like Apollo temple. There's the
really
Ottoman amphitheater. There's the Buddha temple. There's the Tower.
There's
of
even a
Ra.
Sheba and a Solomon temple.
Yeah, there's the Solomon Solomon's temple is in.
That's
the
actually
Grand
right
Canyon.
by the ISIS one. The Sheba one's right by the ISIS one.
Interesting. I don't think that's an accident. Like why would they name that? And I've never been able to find an explanation of why. Like why would they do that?
unless it's the real valley and city of the old gods, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is, man. It's crazy to have that kind of
The
possible
entrance. Well, the
acknowledgement.
thing is, to me, what I'm more enthralled by is the entrance of what's your what you're entering into, and
Yeah.
the levels beneath that, and what that indicates and what that means, because there's a whole world within worlds beneath
Yep.
there, and that's what they don't want you to discover.
I agree.
Absolutely, right? The underground cities and layers, like the legends of the ant people, the
Yeah, imagine if
reptilians,
people
the
knew like
Necrons,
there was a
the
heaven
giants.
beneath. Imagine if people knew there was a heaven beneath 3 layers of hell. Like, how would they be living here?
As
Would they
above,
would
so
they be
below.
partaking in evils? Would they be doing that knowing, hey, my behavior here affects where I go to next? So, hey, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a battle of souls.
Yeah. A war over the souls.
Absolutely, the spiritual war ongoing for the control of your brains and your thoughts. It is constant. I quickly gonna just take a leak. I will be right back. But for a couple of minutes, Mike, do you want to discuss your philosophy and feeling of these artifacts? Like originally when you talked, you stated that you don't believe necessarily that they're alien, but that they're more potential like demigod, god, angelic, demon sort of things,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, from all the research I've done through Stitchin's work and the Bible, as well as seeing these pieces, and then just other cultures, I think you're definitely seeing, traces of this alien and demigods slash angels in multiple cultures, even in indigenous and Native American belief. You'll find bird man gods that had bodies of humans with bird heads. I mean, to think that Native Americans could come up with this, and Egyptians could come up with this, and Sumerians could come up with this is really hard to believe. That they would all pick a bird man god that resembled one another to some extent. And so yeah, I mean, it seems to be that there's absolutely a story, and I mean, if that's the case, that we were all deceived after the tower fell, and all of our languages, we were pitted to be put against each other because our true power left untapped would be detrimental to whoever was trying to keep us a slave. It's always appeared to me that there's been this evil. It doesn't matter where you go. You can look at Nazi Germany. You can look at Egypt, the Exodus. You can look at Babylon, Greek history, Roman history. Everywhere you go, there is so much corruption and war. And I always asked myself as a kid, like, what the heck are these people fighting over? And my mom would always tell me, or my teacher would always tell me, well, it's over religion, right? And then so I tried to understand, well, what
Mm,
about religion was the problem here? Because it
mm-hmm.
seems like everybody believes in a god, and everybody believes it, and it was just
and the
these
number one
minuscule.
rules of the main religions are thou shalt not kill. So it's absolute sin to be killing in the name of your God. It's
Yeah.
insanity.
It's not up to us to judge, and it's not up to us to not unconditionally love. And when we start doing that, we're embracing the seven deadly sins like greed or whatever you want to, pick your poison, right? So yeah, why would our God put us up against that? Why would God have Ishmael kill his brother? Why would there's so many things that in the Bible says that God did these things that were horrendous. He's punishing us for eating the fruit and all this stuff. But truth is, I mean, that sounds like a pretty mean person, like why would that be the all loving and all seeing and whatnot? So if Satan is really lying to us all, and he's saying that he is the God in the Bible, and that there really is a God above that, I think that might be the bigger picture, is that all the religions have the truth in terms of that there is a God and that there's this story, but where the timelines meet is something that all religions have been black faced, or not black, excuse me, um, what's a good word for it? Um, just completely
Silence.
lost. Yeah,
Like
silence.
the thing
Or
is like that's where it's like, you guys just quiet down. Like
yeah,
go into your own mind. Our like that's what I speak about. Like your cerebral spinal fluid is photonic. Your DNA in 1 gram of DNA holds 455 exabytes of data. That's a lot of data. That's a lot of information. The answers are inside of us, you guys.
yep. The
And that's what was
divinity is
the big
within.
deception. The big deception is that you need this middleman, this priest with a big hat or
Yep.
whatever the heck, and that you need him to come down and tell you what and be the middleman between you and God. No, you have this magical fluid that's inside of you. You have a pineal gland, and even just the way that your blood flow streams in your heart. Your heart doesn't stream; it's just one flow of a straight river of blood just flowing through it. No, it has 2 spirals, 2 individual axes, that 2 streams that are spinning around a 3rd ventricle, just like your cerebral spinal fluid. The advanced technology that is within us and inside of us is so advanced and so intricate. The fact that we would even like, it's just like, imagine God being like, what? You're looking for a dude to come tell you to facilitate this thing that's already what? Like just like putting his head down. It is inside of us. And I'm constantly guided of like, look, I do remote viewing. I do things I could see through time and space. The things I've been able to accurately go to and get from a blind target by just focusing my perception of like, come on, I could do that in a living room. I could do it anywhere in the world, and you can too. And I'm constantly guided that, look, we do this through purifying our blood. We're being bombarded by, chemtrails and things, heavy metals put in our food. Not only that, but McCormick, have you looked at recently of the tests of McCormick spices, of what the heavy metals that are in McCormick spices? Like, really? Spices aren't even safe? Really?
No.
That's the world that we're living in. Let's just be real. So it's just combating that, and how you combat that with heavy metal cleanses and parasite cleanses and liver detoxes, and that we have to go through these hard disciplined work, which is spiritual, in order to, get to our potential.
Yeah.
Like, we're living in different times, and it's important to do those and practice those things, to activate those things that are within us, so we can look at these artifacts and look at this in this ancient language and know by looking at it what it is, and remember what it is, who we are, where we came from, and who the heck we are, so we know where we're going.
Bingo.
Sorry, I just get passionate. I'm not angry, I'm passionate.
Yeah, no, and that, I used to wonder why pastors and priests seemed like they were yelling at me, but no, they're very passionate about the topic, because it's something I couldn't get into then, but I understand it now. Like, I find myself doing the same thing. Like, I'm sitting here preaching, and some of it's even religious based, and that's so unlike me. But at the same point, like you said, it's a passionate thing, because it absolutely has to do with us firsthand. And
Well, it's frustrating because it's like, I see, like, we're all looking outside of ourselves, and it is within ourselves. And if more people do that, the kind of like rise we could do, and that's one thing I say at these conferences is like, say what you guys want. You can all come up here and talk about these evil factions of like, oh, the cabal, they're doing this, they're doing that. Oh, you say whatever you want. But man, I tip my hat to them, because guess what? They're organized. They're organized, and they all have the same goal. And so they're all on the same page, and they know the rules. Whereas on, the opposite side, it's like, you got battles of the ego. Like, I want credit for this information that I'm bringing. Oh no, I want more subscribers. Like, really? You guys are going to, I'm seeing that so much in this community, where there's people that are like, no, I'm the first one that said that. Like, really? You want to be a credit whore in these days, in these times of like, no, I'm the one that said that. And you're seeing the same information about aliens and all this stuff be regurgitated. I thought it was to raise your consciousness. It's like, what, you're about viewers and subscribers? Even seeing people in the Tartarian community that are like, whoa, I've never gone viral. Like, really? That's what, whoa, you're into Tartarian, emitting like the truth of like, there was an empire that was advanced. It was an advanced technology. They had free energy, and they had this, they had healing technology, and they're this, and you want to be the one to disclose that, get a whole bunch of subscribers, but it's like, you never went viral. So that's your motivation?
Yeah.
Wait, but I thought we were about educating people about Tartarians. Like, dude, get over yourself. We're living in different times, man. We're different times.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's if there really is this evil force against us, inside all of us, we might know well enough what's right or wrong, but we still act on the opposite sometimes, and we go with the greed, we go with the followers, we go with the subscribers because we get so wrapped up in ourselves, like this narcissism, I think, is part of the plague or the control and
Harmonic. I think
deception.
they called it the harmonic, like consciousness, or yeah.
Yeah. It just seems like it comes from somewhere, I'm pretty I feel like I'm in a good mental state and in control of my action, but still sometimes I get tripped up, and it's just like, why? I know better, This might be something stupid like cleaning the dishes or something. I still find myself
Yeah,
doing
how
stupid
you do
things.
one thing is how you do anything, so it's important. They say if you're angry or whatever, the best thing you could do is mop the floors, and it changes the ions. You could literally test it. And when you clean your floors and you clean your house, it changes the ions inside of it, which then it changes the kind of spiritual influences you're able to have. You could take it that far, or you could not believe it, and see where a bunch of bacteria gets the kind of spiritual influence in your household, of like keeping it dirty and messy, and what kind of vibes and things you attract. But it seems like, in the hermetics of it, really, of as above is below, like as within is without. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So when you slip up, that's like when you don't want to work out is when you need to work out the most. When you wake up and you're like, I don't want to
100%.
make my bed, then you need to be like, you know what? I'm cleaning the whole entire room and the house. It's like that pushing of that
That's the
drive. Like,
unconditional love. That's what makes it unconditional.
we're taught that if you love something, like you give it everything it wants, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, if I love you, you'll give me exactly what I've always wanted. With kids, essentially too. And it's like, whoa, what we needed to be taught is if you love something, you discipline it. Like you discipline it. If you love yourself, you will discipline it. Like self-love is discipline. Like, no, but we were taught the opposite. Like, no, you love something, give it everything you want. So it's like that retraining of the mind goes a long way.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, there's a book called the Pistis Sophia. It was actually an ancient parchment or a papyrus found in Egypt, and it wasn't translated until part of it was translated in the 1800s into Latin, and the Catholic Church as well as the Greek Church, they honored the finding, and it's in their library today. But it wasn't fully transferred, all three of them, until J.J. Hurtak and his wife Desiree did it in the 1970s. And I read this book, and it's Jesus's words to his disciples, and back to the whole religious topic or the spiritual philosophy. The story of Jesus is an interesting one because it kind of like goes against the whole thing, and he came to deliver us the truth, and to where we didn't have to go to a priest. Like, he gave us the one-on-one relationship with God. He taught us to unconditionally love, etc., etc. And so it's almost like he really is undoing the devil's work, and the stuff about our enslavement here is plausible based on his teachings alone, and what he taught his disciples is excerpted from the Bible. It's not even really, it's notarized. Like I say, it's in their library, but they don't honor what it says. And if you read that book, it talks about bird-headed beings in heaven. It talks about the fallen angels. It talks about so many things that
What
Jesus
book is
gives.
that?
It's called the Pistis Sophia.
Pistis Sophia. And
Yeah.
okay. I'm really fascinated by the information saying that, like, he was known as Izzy throughout India, and that Jesus had children, and that is absolutely fascinating. Of like, where then you're talking bloodlines and evidence of that, and like, is he, and then even looking into certain documentation of like, look, he looked like this, and there are depictions of like where he looked more Arabic or his skin was a little darker, and that he visited certain sites in India and throughout, and that he was married and had children. There's a
the Gospel of Mary is really important too. It goes into pretty extensive detail, and it's not something that's really respected by the church either. Of all things, it's kind of crazy.
And they say Mary was like that her grandfather was a Egyptian pharaoh or some type of royalty. Luke, actually, Ancient Historia speaks of Mary's lineage. But that's a good one. But I know you spoke of Zechariah Sitchin, and Zechariah Sitchin never actually translated any Sumerian himself. It's all based on a man that did it in, what was it, 1892?
Yep. But that's not completely true. He did have some things, like he went through the translations from that gentleman you're speaking of, but then he also he said that the planet Nibiru wasn't ever translated back then in the 1800s, that this was something that came to him in a dream. And he created the entire thing because he couldn't figure out some of the untranslated parts and what they meant. And so his thing was, it was the 10th planet Nibiru. But what's crazy is maybe that's actually heaven that it's talking about, and maybe it was the devil that deceived him.
A whole nother realm, baby.
Yeah, if the devil really did deceive him through dreams and through corruption in that way, through the pineal gland, then maybe the dream was false. Just like Moses was told by God to go pull the Ark of the Covenant. Well, maybe that was Satan saying, "Don't go disconnect heaven and hell and go hide that thing, so we don't have to deal with upstairs anymore."
That reminds me of Janus. Looking into Janus being the guardian of heaven and hell.
The gatekeeper, the key holder. Indeed, with Janus, right? Like, and it's so, your artifacts they tie into so much stuff, and that
it connects a lot of dots, and it's in your face of like, even if for deniers that are like, oh, this is fake, and it's like, really, let's meditate on the symbolism of that, and what that can mean.
I have a buddy who's actually had quite a few channelers do different meditations and things with these pieces unannounced to them, and so he records them and documents them. He's writing a book. It's going to be of about 40 or 50 different channelers. None of them knew each other, and it's going to be all of their stories. But what's crazy is the similarities in their channeling, the things that they see, the things that they feel, is almost consistent across the board, which is
interesting. Wait, did he give them a target at all? Because like Osmanagich did a book. Any excuse for me to talk about Samir is Osmanagich did a book where he had a bunch of channeler or psychic women with psychic abilities that he had them view a target, which was the Bosnian pyramid, and then seeing that the results like all kind of accumulated and were the same. Did he give him the same like target? Were they blind to it? Like, how did that work?
He explained to him that the pieces were ancient from Mexico, and explained the region a little bit, but as far as a target specifically or anything like that, no. He just wanted to get a channeling to see what they felt and what they were able to pull from the history of the item.
Okay.
And the Sumerian Anunnaki thing came up more than anything.
Right. Well, and that's what it's depicting, and all the DNA strands, and like what looks like depicting stories of genetic manipulation and these entities coming down from the heavens, and
or coming from an orb into a figure, and that's something that that's really interesting is so the guys that did the documentary, they went to Tula and they asked around any locals, if you have any information on pieces coming out of the ground, please contact us. We want to find them, we want to document them, we'll pay you, et cetera, et cetera. And so one of the farmers came and approached him and said, out in the jungle where he goes, and he said that he's seen weird lights and orbs and stuff. So the guys had to rent a helicopter. David Roldan and Jesse, they flew out there and they camped up on this hillside facing this area that was supposedly where these orbs and stuff came. And they spent 3 days there. On the third night, they started taking pictures of what looked to be like orbs coming in. And they were using a 600 millimeter telephoto lens. They were about a half a mile out from where this was happening. And yeah, I have a
Wait,
video
was
on my
this
TikTok.
was this in Tula? Like, or
Yeah.
was
Well, it's outside.
if you go down there, I will pay for my own way, and I will go down. The experiences I've had with plasma light orbs and the experiences I'm like, I will more than likely, I would be more than happy to go down there and
Well, they manifested, and it was supposedly Baal and other entities. There was a lizard-headed individual. There is a gray-looking individual. There is
I'm like, just kidding.
weird-looking
I take
ones.
that
One
back.
of them is a giant. And what's crazy is all this is documented on photo. I mean, I posted like 40 or 50 photos from this experience on my TikTok. I'll repost it again, so it goes up towards the top. But if you want the video, I can send
Is
it to you.
TikTok your only platform? Like,
It's
are
what
you
I use mostly, just because it has
Okay.
such a worldwide lack of censorship compared to some of the other platforms.
Okay.
I do agree. It seems to be a little bit less lacking of censorship, at least in North America.
Yeah.
Who knows what it's like in China, but it gives us a bit more freedom here.
True.
And I'll post your TikTok link again in the live chat for everybody.
This is a good video here.
Is this
You'll
in a
start to
cave?
see
Where's
the angel
this?
on the wall.
Where's this at?
This is inside of that cave with the alien pointing at it. So this is inside of it now. This will show you all the aliens on the walls and stuff here. Give it just a second.
A cave in Tula?
Yeah, the cave that had that alien pointed at it. Remember we were looking at earlier?
Yeah, look at all of these, everything carved into the bedrock, all the different aliens carved into it.
And it's hard to make out, but you can definitely see them, It's not just rocks. Some of
or
them are
elongated
really
skull folk, we should say, right? It's not
What kind of
necessarily
plasma
aliens.
event
Some of them have
took
angels,
place
some
to
of them don't have
fry?
bodies. And then it opens up into like a huge area here. You'll see in just a second. And that's where the current excavation is being done inside of there.
I'd have to be
Right,
in
so-
a huge plasma war, electrical war, some pretty crazy.
Or sun discharge, or
Mhm.
yeah.
And there's been, you
super-
guys, there was 22 coronal mass ejections from like up until like the last couple weeks of September.
Yeah, I was hearing,
and it's only
suspicious
increasing. And they're
theories talk
saying
about
that, like, look, we thought it would be much later, but they're saying that the event, it's very hard to determine what the sun is going to do and when it's going to reach here. It's just so erratic. It's so hard to predict. And so they're saying in the middle of next year. Oh, that looks super Egyptian and hieroglyphic right there.
Yeah, this is actually a full crystal pyramid. I'll flip it up on its end here in just a second. But this thing glows green and red, and it's completely clear to where you can put something inside of it here, like a light. I put a little LED light in there, and it works as a night light like crazy.
What?
Yeah, and the top, like that eye has gold inlaid on it, and then the top also has gold inlaid on it as well.
Oh my god!
And what's crazy is I thought that this had to be like multiple flat pieces like glued together, No, it's out of a single piece of calcite.
What? That's carved
Calcite.
out of a
Single
single
piece
piece
of
of calcite. That's so ridiculously
I
difficult
know,
to do.
right? That's one of my pride and joys right there. That's probably in the top 3 of my favorite pieces.
Ooh, I was gonna say.
No,
I
no.
still want to see the safe though, or I want to remote view it for my
Oh
own.
yeah, here's the glow. Cool, I did put that on there.
That is like a blue. What is that? Like a
Well,
violet?
that's just with the light in there. So here, I'll hit the yeah, you can see the minus the special effects. You get the idea.
Bernie, your background is like you gotta get.
Right? I need one of these. A couple of to the beginnings of a long friendship where eventually I will end up
Your
with
background's
at
feeling
least
like
a
a
tiny
chump.
piece of these.
Hey man, I don't think I've seen anything more psychedelic than your intro though, man. That was pretty awesome.
That was AI though.
Perfect.
I don't care. I think whatever
That's
you
pretty
use
epic
is pretty
for
cool.
sure.
Yeah, that's like a whole new style of animation that I've never seen before.
Yeah, I love it. I can't even try to claim responsibility for it. It was actually, I believe, Zerdis that came up
Yeah, it
with
was
it. Where
Andreas.
I got it from.
Did you see the video of them in Mexico right now?
I
Of
have
him and his
not.
brother dancing. Oh, it's hilarious. You got to look at the people in the background in the Mexican bar that they're at. It's pretty funny.
I was trying to convince him to.
We love you, Andreas and
join in
Brittany.
with
We love
us.
you.
Right? Like, we're doing a stream on Mexico. Join in from Mexico. So here you're showing that like that the black in carving is actually what seems to be phosphorescent and glow.
That reminds me of the luciferase enzyme that's in the bioluminescence, and like
That's
some
great.
say that are in a
Alchemy.
certain particular injection some are getting, but that the luciferase enzyme is what causes the glow. I wonder if that has anything to do with this sort of thing.
Well, the fact that it's named after Lucifer probably does.
The light bringer, right? The light enzyme bringer.
I don't think it's an accident, that's for sure. Oh, we were going to talk about these alien
yes,
bodies.
we were.
You should flip a
Wow,
couple
this
more.
is them actually getting CT scanned. You actually have footage of them undergoing some.
Oh yeah, and
actual
this wasn't just any
tests.
CT scan. Those are Mexican state officials observing the CT scan to make sure it's legitimate.
That's major.
Really?
Yeah. They're
Okay, that
cake.
adds a little bit more to credential to this credibility.
I've been working. I've been trying to buy one of these actually.
But what's up with people saying that? Look, this guy came out in 2017 with these bodies, and they were children, and he's been pushing this for years, and now he's coming out with this one. Have you heard that?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And what's crazy is if you look back in 2017, all the scientists and all the people who said it was BS, not one of them ever had anything on record of a study, a test, or putting their hands on the items. They all made assumptions, every single one of them.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's just like the stuff I'm showing you guys tonight. Like, there's so many professionals, like the people that canceled Nassim that say it's fake, but all those people that said Nassim was trying to lie to everybody, that none of them put their hands on it. They didn't ever do testing. I mean, it's really sad.
No, it's just really sad
right?
that
Just it's debunked. Oh, we've debunked it because we said it's fake.
Well, the first thing that we do when somebody that's very talented and has a lot of gifts and abilities, people come out and ridicule them like a witch hunt, right?
Yep.
Someone could come out with like what you're doing, amazing relics, amazing, like disclosure within each and every one of them that holds so many answers and so many keys, and is so prevalent, it's so significant. And it's like, no, that's all lies. Like just the way that it's treated and the response to it of like, wait, hang on a second, hold on here. Because do you know where you came from? Do you know who you are? Do you know where you're going?
I have a better idea than I did last year.
What's that?
Fair.
I'm just saying, like,
that was a
where I came
rhetorical
from,
question,
you know?
but I love that, right? That's what everyone's answer should be. Got a little bit more figured out than the year before.
Yeah, wisdom is the wealth.
The more, for me, it's like the more I learn, the
the
more
less you realize you
the
know.
less I know. I'm like, I know nothing. The more
Yeah.
I feel so unintelligent. Like I learned every day. When you learn a lot, and you guys will all notice it, especially people that are watching this stream and that are on this wavelength of this information, it means that you're on that frequency. So it means that you're absorbing more. When you absorb a certain amount of information, you then create the appetite for that amount of information the following day. And the following day, like there's something very, very I don't know, cyborg about like cyborg like we're very programmable and influential. Like we could influence and reprogram it easily. We act like it's difficult of like, we don't want to give up sugar, we don't want to give up carbs, or living this way, or smoking, or drinking, or whatever. But we're actually very easily programmable. So when we don't want to give something up, I mean, it can be easily corrected.
Yeah, I mean, they came up with the cure for smoking cigarettes, and yet they made it illegal. And what's crazy about it is Chantix got me and my wife to quit smoking cigarettes. We had, a pretty rough experience with it, but at the same time, it got us to the end of the road. And I haven't smoked for over 10 years now.
Oh, that's
But
awesome.
they made Chantix illegal because it was giving people cancer. It said, but the thing is these people are smoking cigarettes. Like, what doesn't that give you cancer to begin
Well,
with?
tobacco is anti-parasitic.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
tobacco
yeah.
is anti-parasitic, and it's a nootropic, and there's things about it that are very good. It's the chemical, from what I understand, is a lot of the chemicals, and then the filter that really is like what's
Yeah.
bad.
Yep. But then again, not everybody can grow their own tobacco, so you
Tobacco
have to
that
put these
isn't completely,
preservatives to make
yes.
it taste good still, or to make it last 6 months in a pack, and it's
Mhm.
that's the shitty part.
Dude, I love the fact that you guys, he was, all the viewers that are watching, he was born on the summer solstice. Like, to me, that's so significant. Not just him, but his wife as well.
Life
Like,
as
Yeah.
well, right?
that is so
Yeah.
profound to me.
And
I
she's
don't
a
know. I mean,
twin.
I was supposed to become an astrologer, go to
She's
Italy
a
and become an
twin.
astrologer at 17. So this is like profound for me. And actually, no accident where I was like, oh, makes total sense. But, like he would disclose that, but that is major information right there.
Yeah. And my name is Mike. So Michael, the whole Archangel Michael. I had a lady that was very close to me as a child, and I got into a bunch of trouble. I got addicted to pain medicine when I was like 17, 18 years old, and it almost killed me. And she gave me some words, and she's like, Michael, your name is really special with the Archangel, and he's
Mm.
protecting you and all. She went off on this very heartfelt thing, and it never really resonated with me until this type of stuff. And I think back of it now, and I'm just like, it's crazy to think of the possible outcomes of this if it is
Getting in
real.
touch with your purpose. Like when you
Yeah.
get in touch with your purpose, you're like, oh my God, I get it. I get it now.
Yeah.
Right? Connecting to your higher, like what they call Christ consciousness, your higher self, your
Your over
eternal
self.
soul and being. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Your over self.
I didn't
Your
come up with that. I'm
higher.
just quoting JJ Hertak, man. This guy, he's the man when it comes to this. He wrote a book called The Over Self Awakening. You'll hear me, promote him all the time, because he doesn't promote on Amazon. He doesn't go through the mainstream. He goes to, those type of, conscious culture of events and stuff, and speaks. But this guy's been speaking since 1973, and he had an event in 1973. He was working for Walt Disney, Walt Disney's brother, actually, at the University of Southern California, Berkeley, and they were doing the psychedelic tests in Haight and Ashbury and stuff like that. And there was a lot of psychoacoustical testing going on with the Buchla synthesizer and with music and different acoustics. And JJ Hertak was a musician at this, and he's a college professor at the time in 1973. And he was there. It was 2 days before New Year's, and he disappeared, like during a class. Like no one knew what happened to him. He was all of a sudden gone, and they were doing prayers and meditations and speaking from Hebrew to Sanskrit with this guy from India. He was a famous composer, And JJ explained it that he was enveloped with light around him, and he was approached by the Elohim, and they asked him if he was ready, and he said yes. And the Elohim took him by Merkaba up into multiple levels of dimension and to a place where he was introduced to Enoch, and Enoch gave him a blessing of knowledge, or a garment of knowledge that gave him all this information. And so his wife called in a missing persons report, and 2 days later at their home, the day after New Year's, or maybe 3 days, he shows back up, and he had a glow about him, a physical glow. He was talking in a very high-pitched voice, and he kept rattling off about a bunch of religious topics that he's never spoken about prior, and he just had all this knowledge and information. And so he wrote this book called the Book of Knowledge, the Keys of Enoch, and it's actually it's Enoch's gospel, or Enoch's version of the Bible without man's muddlement. And if you haven't read it, I highly encourage it, because it's something that's so related to this. I never heard of it before, and I posted a lot of these pictures on Instagram of this language and stuff. And this lady who was a PhD archaeologist wrote me and said that she worked in Saudi Arabia for 14 years under the sheik over there, and he basically told her that she couldn't, tell any of that information, that it was forbidden science, and they put a jinn to follow her. And she reached out to me, and she would only talk on the phone. She blocked me the day after I spoke with her, but she told me that as above, so below, and that I needed to read this book, and that it had the return of the dove, and that all of these pieces had to do with the return of the dove. And I didn't know what the heck it was. It took me a lot of researching, but this guy JJ Hertog, he actually wrote in 1973 where all the pyramids were. The ones in Bosnia that you've spoke about were actually wrote and documented and mapped by JJ Hertog in 1973. And a lot of these pyramids around the world, in fact, I think there's 37 of them that he claimed that there was at that time, including the ones on Mars, none of which had been
Really?
discovered yet, have now all been discovered with LiDAR or space probes.
Ooh,
I need
ooh.
to look
Go
into that.
JJ with your psychic
That's
insights.
fascinating.
We need more verification.
It's pretty ridiculous. He sells all these audio discs of his lectures from 1973 till now. I have got over like 500 hours of him lecturing, and he goes through every book of the Bible and explains essentially what's wrong with it and how it's supposed to be, based off of the Keys of Enoch. And this Keys book has actually, after it came out, they've created 2 series of these confirmations of the keys, it's called, and they're all these newspaper articles and scientific papers. It's over 1,500 pages of confirmations from this 400-page book.
Really? I'm definitely, we gotta do a stream just on that aspect.
It's pretty insane. He's something else.
That
Two
is.
PhDs, and he speaks over 15 languages fluently. So he actually can. He's laid his hands on the Dead Sea Scrolls as well as the Neg
That's what I want to
text.
get to. The Dead
Yeah.
Sea Scrolls and then all the Essenes information.
Yeah, he's translated it all, and like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. That's what I was telling you with that Pistis Sophia book that they translated. It's really just.
I came across some Pistis Sophia information, but not like not a large data, like that, not a ton
No,
of data.
his
in
book
that.
isn't even advertised. If you find his books by searching on Google, it's probably on Amazon or eBay, and they're like $400 for the book of
Damn,
knowledge
that's
and
like
stuff.
Ashiana Deanne,
All you got to
Ashiana
do
Deanne.
though, you go to his website. It's keysofenoch.org, and you can buy all that stuff for really inexpensive.
Okay.
I've actually had friends that go on there because it's limit 1 per customer, and you can
Just
sit
like
there and,
Walter Russell. Walter Russell's books is like minimum 1,600. That one book, I want it so bad. Hey, if anybody wants to give me a Walter Russell book, contact
You
me.
and me both. Yeah. Right. To wrap this all up though, or finish it off more, I should say, I will do.
I want to do a safe one. Can I just request that we come back and do the items within the safe?
I'm in.
Yeah, I would love that. Up to Mr. Mike, though. Even a remote view would be cool.
Yeah, I'd
But
be
I
down for that
understand
for
if you don't
sure.
want to show your safe and let's.
I'm like, even if you say
Uh,
no, it's okay. We'll still do
I will
it.
bring the pieces out of the safe. I won't take into my garage because it's not really broadcast friendly. But
No worries.
And if not, then I'll see you hopefully in April with all
no,
of it.
definitely, yeah, definitely. We'll keep in touch. You can give her my contact information or vice versa or whatnot, and
For
we'll
sure.
make
I'll
it
post
happen
it in
for
the
sure.
private chat.
Absolutely. And any little final words here, and then I'll just do a quick little presentation on the Grand Canyon. We'll talk about that a little bit to tie it all up. Oh, still there?
I'm here.
There we go. There we go.
Wait, you want me to talk about the Grand Canyon? Because I have a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah, you two. How about you two start it up, and then I'll show some pictures and show you some new stuff. But what all do you guys know about it so far?
Well, what I think is more with the most important information is Marble Canyon. I believe Marble Canyon is where G.E. Kincaid found the entrance. To me, that's what I'm saying. And a part of me doesn't even want to tell you guys that. A part of me just wants to make like a video about it and be very egotistical, like what I was talking about earlier, and being like, no, it's a Marble Canyon. I'm a remote view, and this is the longitude and latitude. But yes, I believe it's by there, and I believe it's right by the Navajo Bridge. But like the entrance of it. But it's a vast place, and we all know it was found within this canyon, within this certain amount, and the telling of it. But like I was trying to say earlier, is that these women, they go to the Grand Canyon, and they have that video where it's showing like they get zapped, like their hair is standing up, there's like electromagnetic field or something, and they're like seeing that when they put their hand out, it zaps it, and they're like, wait a second, is this like a security system?
I've seen this. Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah,
And
I
it's like,
saw.
wait, what is being implemented here? Was that already there? Like, was it a storm coming?
I was just gonna say, I think it's an electromagnetic disturbance from the weather. If you notice the weather around them, it looks like it's about to storm at the time.
Right. But the fact that you're able to kind of see them put their fingers through, like, whoa, wait, whoa, is it not a storm coming? Like,
if it wasn't right on the edge of a
certain
cliff,
things, because of the certain structures that are beneath there, does that make it more susceptible to making it appear like it amplifies the energies, right? There's a storm coming and amplifies the energy, so you're going to think it's some kind of electromagnetic fence, like you're a dog, and
well,
you
think
can't
about this with the canyon there. If the wind is blowing through the canyon like a channel, it could be a friction thing that's being caused, and so the canyon was going left to right in front of them, and they were standing on the edge, and so it's possible that wall was actually the wind wall creating the friction that made it seem like that. You know what I mean? Or something of that nature. I don't know. I mean, I'm not no weather expert, but that there is some possibility, I think, of that being a natural phenomenon.
Yeah, absolutely. But also possibly that it's could be amplified by the area.
There's things that amplify something there.
But always have to look for the most practical explanation first, right? That the most logical, even if it's the most boring, is most likely the case.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you bring up Marble Canyon, Julia, and that not a lot of people know.
I was going to
that
keep that as a secret.
Canyon.
You're the only show I ever mentioned that. I always drop a little bomb. It is a bomb. That is a bomb, because how many people have been able to zero down the area? No, barely anyone. So you're welcome.
So Gen 6, when they were getting ready to release this documentary, they actually went in and interviewed a gentleman, and he was part of a family, and his father, I believe it was very, very, very intelligent. He was a university professor, and so when he passed away, he had worked out something to where they were going to harvest his brain essentially and keep his brain in a area in the Smithsonian. And so
Whoa, this is the kind of stuff I'm into. I'm into
he
like clone bodies and stuff. So this is fascinating.
and he testifies, that this is all accurate. Well, he went to the Smithsonian to see the brain, for whatever purpose, I guess. And they took him into a room, and there was all these drawers and things, and they opened up a drawer to show him the brain, and the guy accidentally opened the wrong drawer supposedly, and it was full of artifacts from the Grand Canyon. And the guy said, "Oh, not supposed to show you that one." And he shows all these artifacts. So the guy goes, I'll send you the video so you can see this interview in person, because my reiteration of it's garbage compared to what it is. So, but yeah,
That is beyond
definitely
fascinating.
interesting.
Just looking for my Grand Canyon picture collection to show off. As
Dude, Mike, I was on a plane. And we've talked about this on BurnEye show before, but I was on a plane. Where was I going? I don't remember where I'm going. I was on
From
a plane
Vegas
and I heard
LA, maybe?
Julia, like I was sleeping, and this was just in June or something. And I heard Julia, like intuitively, like there's very few times. I'm a seer. I produce higher amounts of DMT in my blood. I have visions like 12 days out of the month, but I rarely get clairaudient messages. Like I get like 4 times a year or something like that. And so when I'm sleeping, I'm totally passed out on a plane, and I hear, "Julia, look outside," and like something jolted me awake. So I was like, "What?" I opened the window and I look outside, and it looked like to be, and I was above I took a picture and I took video of it, and I ended up posting on my Instagram, Holly Julia's, which is like Hallelujah's, but it's Holly Julia's. I think it says it on my name right here.
Yeah.
But it had said to look outside, and I took a picture, and it looked to be, I was above the Grand Canyon, and it looks like the what was it, BurnEye?
Oh, like
The Isis temple?
yeah, and also kind of looked like a the dog, the Egyptian dog, or
Anubis.
It kind of looked like an Anubis.
Like it was a
structure
thing
on
where I
one
was
of
like, "Oh
them,
my god!"
or
So I took a picture of it and took video of it, and I posted it. But I was like, "Damn, thank you." Whatever woke me up, to be like, "Hey, listen," it like jolted me awake. A clairaudient told me, like, "Look outside, Julia, look outside," and I did. And it was that. It almost looks like I don't know, like a
step pyramid temple.
Yeah, like it looked. What do you call that when you have like a lion being on top? I'm like, how do you say? I'm not sure if it was exactly the Isis temple, but it sure looked like it.
Yeah, it almost looks like a
this
sphinx.
This is Isis temple right here in the middle, and it was
and that
like
had a 90-degree angle at its entrance.
Yeah,
completely.
I think it's that mound right there in front of the Isis temple, actually, right there down below. Yeah, right there where your mouse is, kind of that area there, I believe, is where that Sphinx was or something.
Yeah, it looked. That's what it. Okay, that's the word. It looked like there was this Sphinx on top.
So
yeah,
look here,
is.
Isis temple. Look at that capstone carving on top. The step pyramid aspect. All of these 90-degree angles, and then right here. Oh yeah, you got your picture here. I will get that up. 1 second, Julia. Keep that up. Here is what Julia found. Look at that thing.
That's when it told me to go outside or to look outside.
So I think that's on the far wall of the canyon coming out of. It's definitely still labeled one of the temples there, but like, doesn't it look like 2 giant paws almost, and like a sphinx head on top?
And it was definitely in the Grand Canyon.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, that would be so cool if it was that or the Shiva temple.
Right. So right here in you can see this is where they covered up the original main entrance cave to Isis temple It was in the 50s or 60s, I believe. They faked a plane crash in here, and right there is where they built the wall and covered up the main entrance. Got a better picture coming up showing.
Wow, Bernie, these are impressive. These are some photos, images
Yeah,
that
these
you
are
never
good.
Right, like,
see.
look at this. This is
Whatever folder you have
this-
this in, you save that, Bernie.
Oh yeah, and it's like that's the thing. These pictures are like so impossible to get because it's a no-fly zone. You're not allowed in this area. You're not allowed to hike it without complete following. And each one of these peaks is labeled some sort of
God, it just
oriental
makes me
temple.
think it was some kind of plasma apocalypse, like some kind of, like enormous, like catastrophic event that was like
What it
electric.
shows on these pieces, it shows that there's a ship that literally throws some sort of
Well, the
large.
Mahabharata talks about that. They have like lasers and they have ships. But to me, when you look at it, especially this at the large thing, I feel like it's
look at
not a
this
ship,
one,
that it's
another
one
one.
big event, where it's like a hole opening up in the sky and like evenly freaking
Look at
torches
this
something.
square one.
Yeah.
Or like a massive volcano, something.
Pulling that Ark of the Covenant out.
Yeah,
Something.
right.
Or you have massive amounts of water everywhere. That's something. Then a plasma event
Look
happens,
at
and then
this
charges
right
the water,
here.
and then that's what able
Look
to
at
like.
that.
Wow.
Is that not a person carved into a giant doorway on that wall? That looks
Definitely
like a
looks
figure
like it.
to me that's been bombed out. Would like to get a higher res of that, potentially.
Yeah.
Very fascinating.
That's huge.
And what I believe would have been the case is that this whole area would have been half submerged, and it would have kind of been like a Venice temple or pyramid city sort of thing with abundant water and like a just inland sea-ish, with the top halves sticking out and the bottom half being submerged, obviously. Another cave in here.
That's
There's
called
just
what? We go to the right a little bit. It said Angel's Cave. What? Angel's Window.
Angel's
Cape
Window.
Royal, North Rim of the Grand Canyon. Okay, cool.
Oh.
interesting. Angel's Window. Hadn't heard of that one. Orion
The
Zone.
Orion Zone. Oh man.
Right. So the alignments with the Orion constellation. So this is in the Four Corners area, including into the Grand Canyon and the different township cities there. But on a smaller but still macro scale, this is the topographical map of the Grand Canyon Pyramid Complex area. And you can see the alignment of the top peak of each of these temples, each of the mountains / pyramids perfectly aligns with all of the stars in the sky of not just the Orion constellation itself,
where the
but the
ladies
other
are.
major stars in there.
Wow. Huh.
What is that right there, Bernie, that you just circled?
I didn't circle that. It was another someone else that did. I've yet to find what.
It reminds me a little bit of Labyrinth Canyon, like where the Grand Canyon starts to get into Utah.
Of course, there's literally hundreds of these cave entrances along the river entrance at the bottom. Many of them now sealed up. Here we go. Here's one of the pictures before they covered up the main cavern entrance into the Isis temple pyramid. And then they faked caused a plane crash and claimed that that was the reason that they went into these inhospitable desert mountain cliff area to build a fake cliff wall covering up a cave.
God, if I could go anywhere in the world, that'd be like a top 5 place for sure. The Isis temple. Really, you too, Mike?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that would be the place I would choose to explore.
Get to
number one,
like the Isis
place.
and the Inanna worship. Come on. I mean, you look at the Vatican aerial view, they have an 8-pointed star. Why do you think that is? Why do they have all those segments? Wait, time out. Why do they have all those segment statues? at their location.
Here's my
What
theory.
the segment statue, what that indicates, and what you're able to document by taking a photo of what it's able to do, and blah blah blah. I could get that, but like, there's a lot. They remove the women from the Bible and the matriarch and the power in the Queen of Heaven, and worshiping and praying towards women goddesses and what that does. It's like so profound. So yeah, the temple.
That's why the Pistis Sophia is a really good read as well. Is it explains in detail why the feminine spirit was stripped of so much in great detail of things I never even understood. The thing with the 8-point and the 7-point stars is you see both, and I believe it's the same as the musical notes. You see both in terms of 7 tones and 8 tones per octave, and the difference is if you go back to the solfeggio, which is what the the Gregorian monks used for their chants. It was a very holy sound. There were 7 tones per octave, and each of those tones represents one of our chakra points. And the Romans went and changed the solfeggio scale from 532 to 440, and the 440, it gives you 8 tones. Unfortunately, none of them are resemblant to our chakras, and so when music is played tuned to 440, it does not activate our chakras like it's supposed to.
And the path of the orbit of Venus is a 5-pointed star. If you look at like where Earth is and where Venus is, and the orbit and the path that Venus makes becomes a 5-pointed star.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's beautiful when you see the
interject.
design that Venus makes around the Earth. It looks like a beautiful flower.
Right, most of the planets actually, they all have these very complex, look like flower orbitals. I know exactly what you're talking
Just
about.
even looking at the stars, really, it's like it's a record player and it plays sound, and that sound brings wisdom and information and frequency. Really, it's like, what is even a star?
I'm trying to think of the name of these, but these are Egyptian glyphs in Australia. There's several sites that have been found as well.
Aboriginal, yeah.
But Mike, what you're just talking about, the solfeggios and the harmonics and the octaves, you got to come back on for an episode of my Science of Sound series, as that's specifically what we cover in that. So, we got many more shows to do.
You ever seen these? There's called Earth. What is this? Sound. I'll get this Earth. Something.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna hit this though. You gotta hear this. I'm going to.
I've seen those tuning forks. They're absolutely astounding. They're resonating forks, right?
So I'm gonna open my mouth there.
What is this? A giant tune fork?
Oh, that's so cool. I could only imagine how that would feel.
So this is Solfeggio 532. It's absolutely insane. My friend, he uses them for healing. He had a few of the chakra points, and I held one, and it absolutely, ever since then, I craved it. Like I needed to hold another one. So these things are $1,200. I couldn't expect paying $1,200 for a tuning fork at the time, but I own one.
They're just that powerful and resonant, right?
I tune my synthesizers. I'm a musician, and so I tune all my synthesizers to this, and then I'll compose music and write all these sequences. And then when I hit that fork as it's sitting there playing, I feel like I'm at one with the music. Like it gives you a vibration of everything in harmony. It's absolutely amazing.
And you were meant to be a main feature in my Science of Sound series.
Yeah, we'll do one in the music studio, man. I'd love that.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. And I actually co-host it with my beatboxing friend Ominous, who's next level and out of another studio. So it's perfect. We will do a jam session and make some 432 real solfeggio music, that's been the whole goal of the series all along. And want to show this picture of the Grand Canyon, and this shows what I believe to be the artificially constructed dam, ancient dam, which they claim is just this weird geological feature of a red wall limestone.
Bernie, that's a lucrative picture. I need to get a picture of that.
right? Like, kind of adds to the evidence in that it looks like it was washed out by some sort of cataclysmic event, breaking this dam, emptying this once paradise.
That's what I was saying. Like, that's what I was trying to say is like
Ooh,
something create a, you know, massive amount of water, like a flood, and then something electrically happen to then, you know, like electrify the water, which then fried it. That kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, was there a plasma event that happened when everything was embodied in the water? Oh, there we go. That might change your DNA.
Stone.
We need to have something. We need to have something that says prayerful. You're looking at something that could change your DNA and the molecular structure of your cells. Look at that elongated skull. Now, if you look to the right of that elongated skull, that is a man in a fish costume, like in a fish being, you know.
Dagon.
Yeah, it could, you know, or there's Enki or Wanus, or
I think it might be the same. Dagon and Enki, I believe, are the same. So what the thing with Enki is in order to work with the humans, Enki had to lie to Enlil, and so the way he did that was he used variations of language and variations of names. So his name was many names. That's why he went by Quetzalcoatl and possibly even Jesus. Like he could be.
unless it was different time frames.
Well, that's just it. He could be popping in and out of different
Like
time
he
frames.
comes in and it's like there's certain bacteria in that environment, and he's like, oh shit, I got to appear like this.
Thoth is Hermes Trismegistus in the Greek, but Thoth is also with Isis in Sumeria and in Egypt. So how on earth, the time frames don't seem to go at one another with Hermes at all. And so it could very well be different iterations of the same.
Well, to me, what I gather from these tablets, and that's why I asked about anything you had, because it's the size. It's about the size of your palm, and it's significant. And the thing is that it reads you, but it works with other pieces that are the same. Like it's like a key. You have to have X amount of them in order for some, and input it into a thing, and then it's able to give you the answers. And so, and the fact that recently, like those researchers that were able to access a tablet or a relic that was 2,900 years old, and they were able to retrieve plant data, DNA from that, the brick revealing it was like a time capsule of plant life, and the analysis provided like the diversity of plants and species that cultivate in that time and place. So, one could think like, are certain tablets able to embody certain DNA and blood and put it as like a time capsule in that, and certain relics, that what that's holding and encompassing.
Even the conch shells glow. The conch shells could be carbon or could be dated for sure as well.
Look at this one.
Oh man. And up next to you, I have some of the Crespi collection tablets, and what I'm finding fascinating is the hieroglyphic pictographic language symbols seem to be matching yours as well.
Crespi's definitely on the same exact path. I mean, Ecuador, I have a good friend that goes down there, and he's actually doing an expedition down there to try to show, because like Crespi had a lot of pieces that glowed just like these as well, like that pyramid and stuff that Klaus Dona, because Klaus did a lot of research on Crespi's collection.
Oh yeah, well aware of that. And the Klaus Dona's got several of the photoluminescent reactive ones at 100%.
I'll show you something here crazy. If I can get this open here. Give me 1 second.
No problem. What?
So this is like a pyramid light box, right? You see the geometry that it puts out?
What it's showing up top. What it projects out. Wow.
And I mean, if you look at what's producing it, I mean, it's not like the shapes that you would think. You know what I mean? To create the flower life and stuff like that. It's just these holes on the other side that are all lined up.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Oh, suspect that's got to have some sort of potential astrological alignment too.
I don't normally broadcast from up here, so sorry if it's my
Don't
house,
apologize for
but-
giving us extra bonus material.
Yeah,
Eh?
this is the
Sharon's
bonus
Karen.
stuff. Yeah. See, like this one here, all of them stand really flat and sturdy. But this one, because it's nursing the baby, it has a built-in rock to it.
What? Like, wow. Wow. Like,
Pretty crazy.
it's just so, regardless of its age, they're just some of the most like magnificent like craftsmanship and like art pieces in
Yeah.
existence, you know, like just
It might be. Yeah. I mean, it's just hard to believe that this stuff's in my kitchen and living room and down. You know what I mean? Like, it's still sinking in. I guess I don't know.
right, like
All
a
right, well,
lot
thank
to
you guys
take
for
in.
having me. I'm gonna run.
absolutely. It is. Oh wow!
Yeah.
It is 4:30 in the morning where I
Yeah.
am. 3:30 where you guys live on the coast. What? We're 3.5 hours deep, pretty much.
I left you my name and my number, so you have it.
Ooh, thanks, Julia.
Cool. Yeah, we'll stay in touch for sure. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
All right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys. This has been amazing. Thank you so much.
We'll do it again.
You're awesome.
100%.
All right.
It
Take care.
truly
Have a
has.
good night,
Much
guys.
love, Julia. Much love, Mike. Everyone, check out aliencarvings.com and TikTok at Alien Carvings.
Righteous.
And on that note, thank you all, and we'll catch you on the next one. And Mike, if you want to talk a little bit after I cut the live,
Sure.
hang on. If not, cool. All right, let the outro play. Catch everyone on the next one. Thanks for watching.
You crazy mother. Yeah.